ceremony using a belt at their family home in Kimberley. Njuguna then makes his way to the child while feeding off his mother before grabbing and tossing him towards another side of the room. The infant, who the suspect claims is not his biological son, died immediately after landing on the concrete floor first with the head. And US-based pharmaceutical giant Pfizer and its German partner BioNTech have announced a clinical trial of a new version of their COVID-19 vaccine specifically designed to protect against the Omicron variant of the coronavirus. The company said that it will test the new vaccine as both a primary and booster dose in more than 1,400 healthy adult volunteers between the ages of 18 and 55. The clinical trial of Pfizer's Omicron-specific vaccine comes amid the release of a new study that suggests antibodies produced by a third dose of the original shot still provide robust protection for months after the final shot. This is a good news, but remember to continue observing the COVID-19 protocols. Remember to go get tested to know whether you have COVID-19 or you're safe. Also remember to go get vaccinated against COVID-19 so that together we may win the fight against COVID-19, because when you take care of yourself, you take care of your loved ones. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
The SpiceFM Newswire is brought to you by InDriver. Download the InDriver app from the App Store or Google Play Store to enjoy a safe, comfortable, and affordable ride around Nairobi.
This nation has never healed genuinely from the 2008 violence. We've never had a healing process. We've swept it under the rug.
Let me tell you, the handshake was the most disastrous political event in the history of country after the coup attempt of 1982.
There's no Kikuyu pothole, Luo lack of water, right. Okamba, lack of traffic. Yeah. There is no Luya lack of drugs in the hospitals. Or Jaluo one. All our issues are the same issues.
If you are in a room and just about everybody in that room has a court case or another, what impression does that give you?
What are you saying? Why haven't you done it in the last 20 years? But they're telling us, like August, some miracle is going to happen.
SpiceFM, Nyeri.
We're in the middle of the weekend. What does it have to offer in terms of traffic today? We're looking at it building up in certain parts of the city already, but not too terribly in any part, actually. Coming off Thika Superhighway, free and clear all the way in and out of the CBD in 10 minutes, no problem today. All the bypasses are looking pretty good. And even in Westlands, where normally by now it would have been crazy, that's just building up ever so slowly. We're looking at Jogo Road, which is probably where it's getting the most action today in terms of traffic, and a little bit on Mombasa Road as well. Nothing too crazy. Again, right now, a few minutes after 6 o'clock, we're going to wait and see what Wednesday has in store. But 3 things you need to remember. Be careful. If you haven't left, leave now and try to avoid any incidents or accidents that you can. Finally, talk to us on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127. Let's start this Wednesday right.
Are you ready? Okay.
Spice FM. This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down.
You mean it's already Wednesday? Like that. Just like that, without any warning. Wednesday. Come.
surely. Hello and welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. It's the 26th day of January 2022. How many more days to February?
How many more days to February? Today's the 26th. So there's 5 days left. And then it'll be February.
Okay. It's 10 after 6. Good morning. How you doing, Ndu?
I am fine, thank you. Good morning.
I'm fine.
You're fine? Let's wait for me to ask you first.
Yes, you said good morning.
So, it's not a question. It's a statement that the morning is good. After that, then I will say, Eric, how are you?
Oh,
Do you
good
see
morning.
how it goes? You see how the thing goes?
Good morning.
Good morning.
City, how's Ndu?
She is very well, thank you.
Yeah?
Yes.
And how are you?
I am super.
Kabisa.
Married daddy.
Chonjo.
Chonjo.
Married daddy. That's like something shining.
Actually something elegant, pretty good.
Wow. Where will you marry daddy, sugar? City.
Hey, it's our. We have a sister station called Berur FM that's broadcasting. The studio is right next door to us. So the host of the morning show at Berur was having a chat with them just now. You said that word chonjo. I said the Kalenjin have owned the word chonjo.
It's not a Kiswahili word.
It's a Swahili word.
Swahili word.
Lakini sasa imekuwa Kalenjin. Chonjo.
Does it mean the same thing in Kalenjin?
Niko chonjo. Ukisalimia Mkalenjin anakuwa niko chonjo. Niko chonjo. Niko sasa. Niko so. Yeah, welcome to the show. We have several conversations we're going to be having this morning and several guests joining us from 7 a.m. So at 7, we have a rights campaigner, former senator, and a man who wants to be the next governor of Mombasa County, the Honorable Hassan Omar Hassan. He'll be joining us at 7. Let's talk about what the coast needs. What is it that the people of the coast would like to see in the next government? What is being offered? And we know Hassan Omar Hassan has been deep in the Ruto campaign. So he'll come and tell us, this bottom-up, the stories that are happening in the UDA camp, what is a specific offer on the table for the coast? At 8 o'clock, we talk about data management. So we are having the enhanced continuous voter registration exercise going on now. People are going and giving their data, their biometric data to the IEBC. We have very many other government agencies that take all your data, all your information. And we have a data commissioner now in place. Let's talk about data management in Kenya and the country. And we'll be joined by the Cabinet Secretary for ICT, Innovation and Youth Affairs, the Honorable Joe Mucheru, at 8 a.m. He'll be here. And then at 9, we go back to the coast. This time, let's talk about Kilifi County. So, the outgoing governor has served 2 terms. And there's a man who's formerly MP for Malindi, who is now the Chief Administrative Secretary in the devolution. And he's a gubernatorial aspirant for Kilifi County. Gideon Mungaro will be with us at 9. So we'll talk again about Kilifi politics. Kwa hayo na mengi, keep it locked. Let's start with COVID in numbers.
All right, let's look at global numbers. We looked at 354 million yesterday. 5 million new cases on the globe of COVID-19 is what we saw then over the last 24 hours. Not a pretty picture, unfortunately. More and more people getting sick and more people getting hospitalized is what we're looking at, especially in the western part of the world. So we're looking at Western Europe going towards continental United States and a little bit of the South Americas, right? That's what's going on there. The numbers are increasing. It's interesting because with the increased numbers, especially with the Omicron variant, we've not heard so much then about vaccinations, but we do know that they're readily available and that more and more people are getting vaccinated. As from the current numbers, we're looking at 70 to 80 to 90% of populations, especially in this part of the world, having been vaccinated already, and they're going beyond now that teenage. So we're looking at 4, 5, 6-year-olds now being vaccinated. We're also looking at that happening on the southeastern part of the globe, Australia, New Zealand, young children now being vaccinated because they say, hey, you know what? let's just get this protection out there if we can. All right. So that is what is happening there. Let's bring things home now and see what's happening on the continent. Interestingly enough, just as the penetration of COVID-19 was very low on the continent, the vaccination also is still very low across the continent. Same thing. Didn't affect many people. I don't know if it's now an attitude thing that's now spreading across, but just as we saw low numbers with COVID-19 infection rates on the continent, we're also seeing low numbers across the continent of vaccination. No African country yet has hit 50% of its population in terms of vaccination. Let's look at what's happening here in Kenya. 185 new cases from a sample size of 5,515, a very low and acceptable positivity rate of 3.4%, 4 recorded deaths over the last 30 days. And if we look at what's happening with vaccinations, with the 1.3 million Pfizer vaccines that were received in the country the other day, that puts the numbers now to 24,639,820 vaccines that have been received in the country. Now, 18.8% of adults in Kenya have been fully vaccinated. We're looking at 28,000, 15 to 18 years old, booster doses of 118,000. Total doses administered so far, 11,625,788. So, give or take, there are about 13 million vaccines available in the country for uptake. I guess we'll hear today from the committee. They're supposed to tell us today, after they kicked off with vaccinations in schools on Monday, how things are going with that before kids break for midterm. So, that's happening. Vaccines are available. Trying to get to 20 million vaccinated by June. Let's see how that happens, or see how that goes. But that's about the size of it.
That's how things are looking like, eh? It's the lie of the land. Thank you very much. Let's take a break. 16 after 6. We are live streaming the show on YouTube and Facebook. We are also live having all the conversations on Twitter, SpiceFM KE, Instagram, SpiceFM KE, and Facebook and YouTube as well. So are you online? Say hello to us. We'll be saying hello to you shortly after taking a look at the weather forecast.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. Spice FM.
It's getting hot in here.
Oh, everybody steals. It's better a thief who brings something small back. And I say to myself, there's no better thief. A thief is a thief, period.
All those bribes, how much they're getting per year, how much inconvenience they're causing. As much as you call it a small case, it's worth it to be convicted.
The truth is, we are a tribal nation. Because if we were not tribal, and I want to go back to this, you cannot continue walking around with a mug which is clean outside and it's rotten inside.
We have become a fuliza country. We have mortgaged our country because of debt.
You've got one chef working and the assistant chef wakati anatekana koroge unga nini hayuko.
This is the Situation Room.
All right, Wednesday morning, what do we have in store today in Nairobi? 16 degrees and mostly cloudy conditions. It's going to be sunny later on, highs of 26 and lows of 15. In Nakuru, 13 degrees and clear this morning, highs of 28. We're looking at highs of 26 in Nyeri today. It's currently cloudy at 11. We'll see lows of 10. 12 degrees and clear in Eldoret, highs of 25 and lows of 11. In Mombasa, it's cloudy at 25, highs of 32 and lows of 25. And we'll see clear conditions for now, partly cloudy in Malindi at 26. Highs of 31, back down to lows of 26. Kisumu was clear at 20, highs of 31 today. While in Kakamega, 15 degrees, quite cooler morning, highs of 31 through today and lows of 15. In Kampala, it's mostly cloudy at 17, highs of 29 and lows of 16. While Dar es Salaam is partly cloudy at 27, we'll see highs of 31. It's clear in Johannesburg at 15, highs of 27. A hazy Lagos greets you today at 25, highs of 34 today. Back down to lows of 23. Out in Beijing into early afternoon, it's 0 degrees. You'll just see highs of 2 going into early evening and lows of -6. It's also 0 in Paris, highs of 3 and back down to lows of 0. 3 degrees in London, highs of 8 and lows of 3. New York is Tuesday nights, 0 degrees. Coming into Wednesday, we'll see highs of 7 and lows of -6.
Spice FM. Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
It's
94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Who's online?
Quite a number of people online this morning. Robert Tobogo says he's spicing up Mombasa. Rogers Lie. Morning, folks. Tuned in. Please ask CT. In whose hands are we safe? He asks you specifically.
Okay.
So you'll wait for the you'll think about it.
I can respond immediately.
Oh, voila.
In God's hands.
Ah, bas.
Away. Umeachia Mungu.
Mungu mwenyezi.
This one is nimeachia Mungu.
In my language, we say hayeni chuku.
I agree with the chuku bit, yes. Very good.
Victor says, tune in from Mombasa this morning as we are. Stanley Gashisan says, good morning, Team TSR. No male footballer nominated for Soya Awards. No wonder we can't be at AFCON. Okay. Davy Mwane Ireri is tuned in live from Wuhan province, locked and loaded. He's ready to vote in our women rep. Okay, we'll wait and see who that is. Brian Mzima is tuned in from Zambia. Good morning to you, MCR. Good mornings. And this is from James Kimanzi. He, Nyali Mombasa ndani kama mbegu ya parachichi.
Kabisa.
What are those? What?
Parachichi.
Yeah, what's parachichi?
Oh, do you parachichi?
Sounds like parachute.
It has a single seed. It's a fruit with a single seed.
Mango.
Na mbegu iko ndani.
Mango.
Hapana.
Avocado.
Yeah. Wewe kashaelewa wewe. Wewe kashika wewe basi. Haitwi avocado pale kwenye Kiswahili, si avocado. Ni parachichi.
Si avocado ni avocado.
Ile matunda ya fruit ile.
Ile avocado ile. Ni parachichi.
Hey, chukuna. We are locked in from Western Canada. Team change. Yeah. It's a serious thing. Eric Wasam says he's second in line. Okay. I don't know to what, but it's okay. Welcome back. Yivio, watching from Sweet Home Kolanya Atapara Teso in Busia County. Now, Penda Sana Moses Emeje. Emeje actually is a Nigerian name. Okay. Yeah, we're just related on the continent. Good to have you guys in the studio this morning.
Sure, the Nigerian is also called Moses.
Come on, go and sit down, Joe.
Even John.
Okay, City. The day's proverb.
Mchimba kisima huingia mwenyewe. I like this particular proverb because it has a double-edged meaning. When whoever digs a well enters himself. That is now, if you look at it directly, you dig a well or you dig a pit and you enter. But then on the other hand, you cannot dig a pit and not enter it.
While digging,
you dig as it continues descending. You descend with it.
You go
with it.
Mchimba kisima
huingia
mwenyewe. Asi. Sansana. Let's look at the newspaper headlines. Remember, you can access the Standard e-paper. Download the Standard e-paper app on Google Play Store and Apple App Store, or go to www.standardmedia.co.ke. For only 20 bob daily, you get access to the Standard e-paper and all the premium content, including free Sudoku daily, free crossword puzzle daily, and access for 10 days to the Standard archives. This is the oldest independent media house in the Republic of Kenya. Can imagine the kind of information that you have here. So in the papers, I have something interesting even before we look at what's been written as stories. There's an advert that's been placed in the papers today by Kabrak University.
Advertisement.
An advertisement, which is an announcement of a lecture, the public lecture that's going to be given this Friday, January 28th from 10 a.m. The lecture is going to be titled, In Defense of Radical Legal Education, a Personal Footnote. This will happen at Kabrak University, and the lecture will be delivered by the freshly minted Professor Willie Mutunga.
Very good, isn't it?
So the former Chief Justice, Dr. Willie Mutunga, has been appointed Professor of Public Law at the Kabrak University School of Law.
Is that not a good thing?
It's a good thing. So he's back to teaching, having previously taught at the University of Nairobi between 1974 and 1982.
1974 was when now?
74. Previous
Imagine. Up to 1982, Willie Mutunga was lecturing at the University of Nairobi. And then he is now back into teaching.
Wow.
Yes.
Once
Professor
once a teacher,
Justice Willie
always a
Mutunga.
teacher.
That's it's a nice tinge to it. Okay. Stories.
Stories from the counties.
Yes.
This is an interesting one. And again, I think it just bleeds into what we've been talking about recently. Wife seeks share of a father-in-law's 30 million shilling property. Okay. A Nakuru woman is embroiled in a tussle with her husband over 10 million shillings she claims was gifted to her by her father-in-law before he died. Trishna Shah is objecting to a succession suit filed by her husband, Nikunj Shah, over the property of her father, Hiriral Velji, claiming her husband wanted to lock her out of the inheritance.
Way.
Okay? She claims her husband fraudulently obtained the grant by lying to the court and withholding facts essential in points of law. Through lawyer Emmanuel Koskei, she wants the grant issued to her husband in 2019 and confirmed on November 1st, 2021 to be revoked. She submits that before his death, Hirilal called a family meeting. And he gifted her 10 million shillings, which was deposited in Prime Bank. She avers that she is lawfully entitled to inherit the gift that is part of Hirilal's 30 million shillings estate. Now, Section 31 of the succession law states that a gift made in contemplation of death shall be valid. That's what the law says. She claims that her husband deliberately appointed himself the administrator of the deceased estate, leaving not only her but other beneficiaries out. The petitioner unfairly failed to include the undisclosed gift in his petition for letters of administration. She states that her husband has also filed a divorce case 2 of 2020 that is pending hearing and determination before Justice Hilary Chamite in Nakuru. In the divorce case, Nikunj accused Trishna of being physically and emotionally violent. The couple has been together since July 2002 when they solemnized their marriage under the Hindu Marriage and Divorce Act, which has now, interestingly enough, been repealed. She says Nikunj filed the succession case in secret and she was not offered an opportunity to give her side in the case. It is clear that my husband wants to use the divorce and succession case to dispose of my rightful share of the estate. She states that the distribution of money held in Prime Bank was not properly done as she was excluded from benefiting. So it would seem that she's getting the short end of 2 sticks here. Taking her money away that was gifted to her by her father-in-law and a divorce.
So if it was gifted to her, so why isn't she able to access it?
This is strange because
the way the story has read, I understood it to mean that the old man decided, I'm going to gift you 10 million shillings and I'm depositing it in an account that you have access to.
Yes. But not access to, because the administrator of the estate and the account still happens to be her husband. All the money was put in this account, which her husband is the one who can now transact on it. And the family meeting was called, and in that meeting, father-in-law said clearly, 10 million
I'm giving 10 million
to
Trishna.
But see, now it's in the account which your husband has control over.
Yeah.
So he can decide when he'll remove and when he will not.
This is going to be an interesting one because also that whole law of inheritance as well, does it lock out in-laws?
Interestingly enough.
Because there's an interesting angle there. If you are married to somebody and then your spouse inherits from their side of the family, are you entitled to their inheritance, to a piece of their inheritance? There's a big issue there.
But would it overlap where in this case it was clearly said that, and according to this succession law, it states that a gift made in contemplation of death shall be valid, right?
Yeah.
And it was said, and a spoken contract, verbal contract is binding.
The issue is whether that she can prove that it was actually said that this is a gift.
This is the problem.
Yeah. Because if it had been transferred, if the money had come to her account Now, nobody would come and argue.
Yeah,
you know?
but now it's in this account.
Now, this one is in this other account, and all we have is you saying that, but remember, Mzee said. But you're all there when Mzee was saying. Now, that's where issues would come in. That's an interesting one. It would actually be a good one to see what the judges say. It's coming up to 6:30. Let's take a quick break and take a look at the traffic, and then we'll be looking at other newspaper headlines shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
Hey, it's getting hot in here. The media has greatly contributed to the moral rot that we experience in this country.
I remember a senior politician telling me, point blank, nobody steals in the field, it's stolen in the granary. So my friend, if you're going to win an election, jipange kwa granary.
I think we are suffering from Stockholm syndrome. Our violator and abuser is also our redeemer in our mind.
The whole political class, the whole political institution is rotten. It is based on ideals that cannot progress our country forward.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
All right, a few minutes after 6:30, what are we looking at? Reckless, 6:30 on the nose. A little bit of traffic on Mombasa Road this morning heading out. We're looking at that Imara-Daima stretch, which is already quite sticky this morning. In and outbound traffic in that particular area. Hopefully we can keep things to a dull roar. Outer ring is looking pretty good. There's an option for you to use the long route out into the city. If you're going towards Thika Road to avoid Mombasa Road, there is an option for you. What else are we looking at? Jogo Road is quite packed this morning, already starting to build up. Right at the train station, we see it getting heavier there. Langata Road already doing its thing this morning. Getting off onto Uhuru Highway is no mean feat. But for now, this is the opportunity. Get at it while you can. If you're on the Thika Superhighway, you'll find traffic just past the Utali Drift. It hasn't gone any much further than that, at least not for now, but it's likely to do so. We're seeing it building up on Kiambu Road. Looks like it's going to be a nightmare of epic proportions today because it started really, really early, and we're looking at in and outbound traffic. It started on Limuru Road as well, coming out of Westlands. That sticky situation continues. It's Wednesday morning traffic, nothing too crazy. Hopefully we can keep it just that way. Should it get any crazier or any calmer, talk to us on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
Spice FM, Malindi. Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
It is
mornings done right.
I'm looking at a really interesting story. Do you know that there is a Kenyan who actually represented us at Wimbledon at some point? To be specific, in 1978. Did you know this?
In 1978 at Wimbledon?
Susan Wahungu was her name. I mention this because there is a young lady by the name of Angela Okutoi. Okay? Now, she has been doing wonders in Australia.
Yeah.
Okay. The Australian Open Junior Championship in Melbourne Park. She has reached third round. Now, third round means she's one step away from the quarters.
Yes.
Okay. The first person that she managed to defeat was an Italian. Then somebody from an Australian was the second one. So now it's number 3. It's momentous. It's something that should be mentioned. This Angela Okutoi, we're used to talk about the leads, our rugby players. At some point we talked about our swimmers. Now we have somebody who is raising that Kenyan flag very high.
Bringing it back in tennis.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I thought I would just mention this.
A very good thing. Like you said, where the Wahungu, and I think it was Wahungu sisters, right?
Yes, yes.
Who were very good in tennis in those days. And then there were Kesa, brother and sister.
Yes.
And now we have the Okutoi.
Yes.
Good.
It's very good. Very heartwarming.
Very good. Now, let me just pour everything that you've just said by telling you that 2 more bodies have been retrieved from the Yala River. Siaya Health Executive Dismas Wakla said the bodies were taken to Yala Sub-County Hospital mortuary by police officers bringing the total number of bodies retrieved at River Yala and kept at the morgue to 23. Out of the 23 bodies, 2 have been claimed by their families, although they have not yet been collected, as the families continue with burial plans. Yesterday, Wakala said families who have lost their kin are still thronging the morgue to identify the unclaimed bodies. Health officials have told the Standard that some families have travelled from as far as Mombasa, Nairobi and Machakos to the morgue to confirm if the unclaimed bodies were of their kin. A team of experts has also been dispatched for special forensic investigations in Yala to hasten the identification of the bodies. A driver called Nicholas Okero, who has been helping police with retrieving the bodies, claims he has recovered more than 30 bodies since August last year. He noted that most of the bodies were stuffed in sacks that were tightly sewn. Some of the victims had ropes tied around their necks and fingers severed. The National Police Service has denied that the bodies were all retrieved from August last year. Now, this, we are talking about 23 bodies that there is no conflict. The person who has actually been on the ground says, I have retrieved about 30 bodies here since August. Have you heard Matiang'i say a single word about what's happening? How can 30 bodies just emanate from some river?
How is
people
it okay?
coming from this one was traveling, he was last seen in Nakuru. We have identified those 2 that have been identified. People are traveling from as far as coast, going to Yala to identify bodies. In fact, this one is not even Matiang'i. The president should be speaking on this. The way the president spoke about vandalism of cables, of power pylons, and even banned this business of scrap metal, the president should speak to this matter. These are not chicken, Bana. These are human beings. Read families that have been in distress for so long.
That something has not been said about it in a public manner, because the most we've heard about it in a public manner is these reports that we see. Yeah. Another one has been found. Another 2 have been found, etc., etc. But those, again, I keep saying, those who are the custodians of security, and then to the very highest level, like you said, the CEO of the country says nothing about this. These are people who are turning up dead. These are people who've been dead for some time.
And this is River Yala.
Come on.
River Tana?
What about Sabuk?
Oldonyo
Sabuk. How many had been found?
No, how many are yet to be found?
We're easily talking about hundreds of Kenyans.
You know, when you talk about 30 having been found, we do not know, for instance, with Yala. You see, Yala has this distinction. It feeds off into the lake. Now, it is likely that there are bodies that actually ended up in the lake. Now, those we will not know.
Yep.
But this isn't a situation that one should simply look at and say, 2 more bodies were found. Not really. Not really.
No. And all of them are showing that it's not suicide.
No.
People whose fingers have been severed, they had ropes tied around their necks.
Deep cuts on their heads.
They were put in gunny bags. These were killed.
Yes, they were killed.
And this is not something we should just be, Hilary Mutyambai has said nothing. His bosses, Dr. Kibicho and Dr. Matiang'i, have said nothing. Their boss, the president, has said nothing. No.
Absolutely not.
We cannot continue like this. This can't just be a casual thing of,
Who's killing Kenyans? Why are they being killed? Why are they being disposed of in this manner? These are the things that you ought to demand. I mean, asking the same questions over and over again. Why is this happening? Who is doing it? Because of the manner in which these bodies have been found, the way in which they've been found, you know that they did not die of natural causes. Somebody was not walking along the riverbank and slipped and fell and drowned. That is not what we're talking about here. The manner in which these folks have died points to clear murder. They've been killed. Why? And the deaths that we are talking about are brutal, horrific deaths.
Yes.
Somebody's fingers being severed, your throat being slit, that already is an issue. Why are they being killed? Who is doing it? Because as far as you have these bodies, as you can see, as sure as the bodies are being found, is for me as sure that somebody knows why they're being killed like this.
Yep.
Consider the death of Abdirahman Abdullahi.
The DCI officer.
The DCI officer. Remember, those who raised the alarm were children who were students at Tambach Primary School. On their way to school, they see the body. They're the ones who raised the alarm. This is a place on the border of Elgeyo Marakwet and Baringo. Now, a police officer has died. Yesterday, we talked about 2 police officers who apparently had been involved in something or the other, but who ended up dead.
Yep.
Now, what is tragic and alarming and scary about this is that when you read something of this nature this often, what you're being told is that it is an accepted trend.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's normal. So I mean, what's happening now?
Died,
Yeah,
right?
well.
Yes, but...
And in fact, it should even have started earlier. When you have all these reports of missing people, people have just disappeared.
And nobody seems to know where they are.
Nobody seems to know where they are. That should have been the first trigger, even for the government to say, wait a minute, there's something happening.
Yeah.
If indeed they don't know what's happening, they should have found out what's happening. Why are people just disappearing? And then the moment they start being found in rivers, bodies are discovered in some river in Muranga, in some river in gunny bags. That should also have been another trigger for alarm. This one, we are talking about one river, Yala. Reports of bodies emerging from this river, being discovered in this river, have not stopped. If we can still see 2 bodies being discovered yesterday, have we seen any effort by the government to say, okay, so no, we are deploying, even if we are saying we are deploying NYS, go across the entire river, let's see, what else do we have here? Anything like that?
Nada.
You know, and we have many rivers in this country.
Yes.
Okay. And not small rivers. You know, this is the tip of the iceberg. This particular story of bodies being found in rivers is yet to actually explode to its full capacity. It's yet to, and it's going to.
It will.
Yes.
Another story that points to this, and you know what? People say, okay, so what's with the doom and gloom this morning? And I think, you know what? The only way to get it front and center, for some attention to be paid for it, is to talk about it. After 2 years of pain, a couple still hopes to find their stolen daughter. On May 2nd, 2019, Sheila Ora was born at Kwa Ronda slums in Nakuru West Sub-County. 2 months later, on July 1st that year, she was kidnapped. Kalendi Mwajuma, 23, and her husband Moses Ora were left in shock when their baby disappeared under the care of their neighbor. 2.5 years later, the couple is yet to find Sheila. Nobody knows where she is. We do not have our daughter's photo, but she looked like me and her elder sister, aged 4. She had a full head of hair and a birthmark on her right leg, she told the Standard yesterday. Moses described Sheila as a lovely baby who made them smile each day. You couldn't leave her on the seat or on the floor. She would cry, he said in tears. She's 2.5 years now, but she doesn't even know her name. We are not sure what she looks like or where she is, and it pains us. Since their child went missing, Mwajuma and Moses have vowed not to have another child for 5 years with the hope that Sheila will be found. How do I let somebody steal my child? What are my responsibilities in life as a father? If I cannot protect my daughter, who will I protect? He said he is scared of getting another child and not protecting them. I cannot get another child knowing my daughter is out there waiting for me to bring her home. This is my priority. On her part, Mwajuma has had a contraceptive implant to keep her from conceiving for 5 years. She had discussed it with her husband, and they opted to first seek justice for their lost daughter before having more. We had planned to have 2 more children, then wait for years before having a 3rd child. However, our second one went missing, and since then we have not had peace. It's been a painful 2 years down the line. I carried my baby for 9 months, and she was gone in what seemed like minutes. I believe she's alive, and I have no peace because I don't know what she eats or where she lives.
Can feel it for the family.
Absolutely.
You know, there's something I'd like to add to this gory story of lost bodies. You know, River Yala is what has caught the nation's attention. But if you go around the country, you will find that in very many of our government hospitals, they are unclaimed bodies. Now, again, this is really something that we ought to, should we say, be informed about in greater detail.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very many unclaimed bodies. The hospitals just make announcements like, you know what, we have all these unclaimed bodies and we're
giving you notice.
We're giving you notice. On this day, we dispose of the bodies. There are people who have been looking for their loved ones. Now, if you heard that there are bodies, there's a hospital, for example, Wajir Hospital is announcing that, we have unclaimed bodies and we're going to bury them. And you are in Kilifi or you're in Kwale at the border with Tanzania. And you're not even considered.
No.
And yet, people are missing and they're found across the country.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
Somebody's actually picked up at Lunga Lunga and then they turn up in Moyale.
Lunga Lunga is really far from.
Yeah.
But isn't that what we saw with this guy? We saw it. You're going from Mombasa to Embu and you end up in Baringo,
in Tambach.
In Tambach, I'll go Marakwet.
And your car is in Isiolo. I mean...
It's madness.
It's crazy.
Let's take another quick break.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. 102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
It's 14 minutes to 7, Kenya's biggest conversation. It continues. So there's a man who used to work for the National Cereals and Produce Board, William Ndu Okoh, former storeman at NCPB. He was fired by the board, and then he sued the board on March 13th, 2015, claiming damages amounting to what he said, whatever the court deems fit, because of his unlawful summary dismissal, unfair termination, and withholding of his dues. But Justice Stephen Radido has said Okoh was lawfully fired after he failed to account for 184 bags of maize that were under his custody at the national silos. The reason for the dismissal, which the board was expected to prove, was negligence in the performance of duties, leading to the loss of 184 bags of maize. He went on, although Okoh defended himself by stating that he informed his supervisors of the variance, the explanation only came after audit queries were raised. The board's counterclaim against Okoh to pay for the loss of the maize, amounting to 451,226 shillings, is allowed. Understand what I'm saying? Do you get it? Man is fired by NCPB.
Yes.
Man goes to court, sues NCPB and says, I was unfairly terminated. In fact, court, just award me something, whatever you deem fit.
I'll take.
NCPB countersues and says, this man led to the loss of 184 bags of maize. In fact, he ought to pay us 451,000 shillings. Court says, yeah, man, pay NCPB 451,000 shillings. You are fairly fired.
Dismissed. So you, now that you've sued, you're the one who owes.
Imagine.
No fun, man.
Imagine. What's in the Business Daily, City?
Wow. Right. CBK fails to effect Uhuru Cash Directive 3 months on. Front page.
Okay.
I will read it.
Yes.
Commercial banks are yet to comply with the presidential directive requiring a higher limit for customers' cash transaction disclosures, citing delays by the Central Bank of Kenya to issue operating guidelines. The directive issued by President Uhuru last October sought to raise the threshold of suspicious cash transactions. Commercial banks are required to report under anti-money laundering laws to facilitate cash deals among small businesses. Mr. Kenyatta ordered the immediate raise of the reporting threshold for both deposits and withdrawals above the current 1 million shillings without saying what the figure will be. Yesterday, commercial banks said they were in the dark about the directive as CBK has yet to give directions on the matter.
This money was to go where again?
No, it wasn't supposed to go anywhere. this limit that we have, where you can withdraw 999,000 shillings, 999,999.
Yes.
But the moment it gets to $1 million and beyond, you have to explain in writing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And on Mashujaa Day last year, speaking at Wanguru Stadium in Kirinyaga County, the president said, you know what?
Surely.
We need to allow our SMEs to thrive and work. And this whole limit of one, although we have this Pokmula law, forget it. Let's allow SMEs for the next at least, was it a year?
Open it up.
Open
1
it.
year.
You know. Kumbe. At CBK has not told the banks, go ahead.
Well, the thing is...
banks are not watching the president.
They are not watching even CBK was not watching the president. They didn't hear the president. Don't they know when they've been given a directive? Are they not aware?
Are they not aware?
That the directive was given.
It was a national day. The president was not doing an off-the-cuff mention. It was a proper official speech.
Official directive. But you see where the problem arises, that some of these measures are not just specific to Kenya. They're international guidelines. Okay. So for Kenya to change, God alone knows what other measures you need to take when complying with other nations with whom you know very well you have signed. You know, these agreements are signed that, that we will comply with this, and the other. So now we are saying we're not going to comply with this, and the other. The question I would ask is, why has the central bank not moved? Or if they are moving, what is it that they are finding a bit of a hurdle? Or is it just a normal time that such things take before they're actually implemented? You see, if you are in my age bracket, you will know that when a president gives directives, the following day it should be implemented.
In place.
Yes. However, with this delightful new constitution that we have, it doesn't quite happen like that. You say, people hear. And then they find a legal way to ensure that they've implemented it. Because if you implement it in this country and you haven't laid down channels, you are going to go to court. You'll find yourself in court.
Yes. To be asked why.
Yes. Explain in detail and underline in red.
Don't just come and say,
So, you know Ketraco?
Yes.
And you know Kenya Power?
Yes.
So they're duking it out. The big boys are saying, you know what? 39 million shillings are the cost of the blackout that happened a couple of weeks ago. Let's see who's going to have to sort this one out. The Kenya Electricity Transmission Company, Ketraco, and Kenya Power are passing the buck over who should bear the costs associated with the collapse of the transmission line between Marsabit and Suswa. The transmission interruption that lasted... this particular one is the one that happened last year, all right?
It's a Loyangalani.
Yes.
To Suswa line.
Yes. The transmission interruption that lasted 16 days cut out electricity supply from the Lake Turkana wind power plant. The line went down after 4 towers collapsed at Longonot on December 16th and was not restored until January 1st. Kenya Power had to ration power during peak hours. A report by Ketraco's management to its board said the collapse of giant steel structures was caused by unusually strong winds. The transmission line was restored on January 1st, but temporarily, with the company at the moment evaluating modalities of permanent restoration. Ketraco now claims that Kenya Power has demanded it pays for deemed generated energy. DGE is electricity that the wind power plant was capable of generating, but could not, as it would have nowhere to take it to because of lack of transmission infrastructure. There's no line. We would have supplied the power, but where do we supply?
So what's Ketraco's argument? Why should Kenya Power pay? Why? Why should Kenya Power pay? So that line is under Ketraco?
Yes, the line is under Ketraco.
And the Ketraco line has collapsed?
Yes.
So Kenya Power has not had no capacity.
Kenya Power had the power, but where do we send it to?
Kenya Power didn't even have the power. They were not receiving it.
We couldn't receive it because there's no line.
Because there's no line.
And this is your responsibility.
Yes.
Give us the line. We send the power. It's distributed.
Lake Turkana Wind Power Company says, I have a contract. I have investors. I have taken loans. I know that every day I'm expected to generate X.
And I'm generating.
And I may have the capacity to generate. You've told me switch off my machines because there's nowhere to take. So now who pays me?
Yeah.
Loss of income. Okay, I don't get Ketrako's argument. No.
Yeah, Ketrako's argument seems to be a little bit weak here because they have the responsibility of doing exactly what needed to be done for power to be their line.
Or are they just doing the Kenyan thing?
Passing the buck? Right. So.
You know this one, Ketrako, this is your baby. Sort it out.
Just carry your baby, boss.
Kenya
Power has issues. Kenya Power, for example, in South Nyanza region, they're having issues. The company lost 14 transformers in December 2021, according to the regional manager, Dan Obiero. So far, 2 suspects have been arrested, but 1 escaped arrest. Kenya Power security officers arrest about 15 people every month in South Nyanza. The theft syndicate affects Nyamira, Kisii, Migori counties, a region that also reports many cases of illegal connections that have led to deaths. So what happens? They lose electricity poles, transformers, copper metal. Vandalism is rampant. By the time people are actually going to steal a transformer, rampant.
Crazy, man.
So Kenya Power is dealing with that. As we talk about that, I also have another story, which is, remember the president said, wait, people are going to vandalize our electricity infrastructure because of scrap metal. Scrap metal business.
Scrap metal.
Now, scrap metal dealers have called on President Uhuru to lift the ban that he imposed a week ago, saying they will help the government to weed out vandals. The dealers under the Kenya Iron and Scrap Metal Association, KISMA, umbrella, said they are willing to collaborate with the government to stop vandalism in government infrastructure. If we find any thieves in the supply chain, I swear we'll take them to police ourselves and put our members on notice not to buy stolen materials. Okay. We are sorry that our sector has been mentioned in the vandalism, and we are ready to stop the menace, according to Association Secretary Irshad Sumra.
So they know who these guys are. They are aware of who the vandals are. Up until now, they didn't feel responsibility. But now, when your daily bread has been touched just a little bit, you realize, hold on a minute. No way. We know.
You know, this one isn't touching. This
one
is erasing.
Has been taken away completely. Suddenly,
no. We'll help the government fight this thing.
In fact, now, we'll
even tell our members, don't buy anything that looks like it's from government.
Please. Involve us.
If it has come from City's Gate, that one you can
okay.
take.
But government.
I don't touch.
No, folks. Please, by all means, take City's Gate and defend.
Do you folks remember that there was this matter of when it is that civil servants should resign before now plunging themselves in the deep waters of elected
It's
politics?
next week, Monday.
Yes, unfortunately, that matter actually went to court.
It did. We were supposed to hear.
Yes, and the judge who was hearing it, Justice Anthony Mrima, he ruled that the law had given aspirants sufficient time.
So, hit the road, Jack.
That's it. And he quoted a similar case in 2012 that Justice Lenaola oversaw. He said a similar case was brought and the judgment was issued. It wasn't appealed. So, this isn't the first time that such a thing is happening. So, that is it.
It stands. Meanwhile, journalists who are eyeing political seats should bid newsrooms goodbye.
Quickly.
This is according to the CEO of the Kenya Media, the Media Council of Kenya, David Omoyo. He's written an article that's published in the Standard. He says, you...
doing the thing.
Doing the thing in the newsroom. And then you want to vie.
Cottage.
Out. Out is out. Out nature. Out nature. You don't get it.
I get it.
Forget about it.
I get it.
Just forget about it. Keep it right here for more conversations coming up in the next hour. We'll have the man who has been a rights campaigner for a while. He was a commissioner with the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights. He was a senator for Mombasa County. And he is now gunning for the seat of governor of Mombasa County in this year's election. Former Senator Hassan Omar Hassan is joining us in the Situation Room. We want to talk about the Coast region. Hassan Omar Hassan has been in the kitchen cooking the UDA campaign strategy. And so we want him to come and tell us all these talks that you've been talking about. You have worked as a rights campaigner, looking at various rights and you know the issues that are affecting the coast on matters of human rights, on matters of land, on matters of economic empowerment. What exactly does the coast then need? In whose hands?
Is the coast safe?
Is the coast safe? Yes. In whose hands? I ask again. And CT, you've been asked that question. In whose hands are they safe?
And I responded immediately.
In God's hands. Don't trust no man. Trust only God. Keep it right here for more conversations. Thank you very much to everybody who's saying good morning to us online. Yes, we see you. Fidel, David Amwanya, Collins Kipchumba. It's 7 a.m.
Spice up your life.
The SpiceFM Newswire is brought to you by InDriver. Choose your preferred driver, mode of transport, and negotiate your fare to your destination for a safe, comfortable, and affordable trip only with InDriver.
The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning, this is Newswire Dennis Seta. President Uhuru Kenyatta is scheduled to preside over a series of political rallies in Mount Kenya region as he is expected to field ODM leader Raila Odinga to succeed him. Uhuru is expected to accompany Raila, where they will visit various development projects before the president addresses Mount Kenya MPs at the Sagana State Lodge. Although the date for the meeting has not been announced, it is expected to be held in the first week of February. Jubilee Vice Chairperson David Murathe confirmed President Kenyatta will go to Sagana, a state lodge now synonymous with Uhuru's political planning and strategy. And President Uhuru Kenyatta Tuesday held a meeting with a cross-section of Western Kenya leaders who paid him a courtesy visit at State House, Nairobi. During the meeting, State House spokesperson Kanzadena disclosed that the head of state assured the leaders drawn from the 5 Western Kenya counties of Kakamega, Bungoma, Busia, Trans Nzoia and Vihiga of the government's commitment to ensure all ongoing development projects in the populous region are completed as scheduled. The meeting is seen as a way aimed at taming Musalia Mudavadi's earthquake statement that saw him team up with Deputy President William Ruto's UDA for the August 9th general elections. The head of state, according to the Standard newspaper, asked the leaders supporting Azimio la Umoja to come up with a consensus so that they can agree which leaders can vie for what positions so that the competition cannot get more seats due to disagreements among them. And Orange Democratic Movement Party leader Raila Odinga has reiterated his push for a united country under his Azimio la Umoja umbrella ahead of the August 9th general elections. During a luncheon held by the Mount Kenya Foundation and Maa community leaders in Nairobi, Odinga emphasized his union call to all Kenyans, saying it is the bridge to the development of the nation. Odinga underscored the unification of all Kenyan tribes as he recounted the history of the migrations of ethnic communities, pointing out that all the groups were once one and continue to share a common origin, which he said should be reflected in the current relations. UDA, ANC and Ford Kenya leaders are today expected to lead the party's supporters in the first public rally since they formed the coalition Sunday. The Nakuru meeting is expected to signal a new political momentum in the country since the parties began collaborating. Ruto and Musalia Mudavadi's supporters, who are key players in the new partnership, have already stated their readiness to prove that Mudavadi's decision to leave Oka and start working with Ruto will indeed cause massive changes and political ripples. Yesterday, MPs Kasim Tandaza of Matuga, Omboko Milemba of Emuhaya, Sauka Bunyasi of Nambale, Alfred Agoi of Sabatia, his Vihiga counterpart Ernest Kagesi, Malulu Njendi of Malava, Vihiga Women Representative Beatrice Adagala, nominated Senator Petronila Were met with Musalia Mudavadi and insisted that he is still in the run-up to the presidential race. Ford Kenya has also officially announced that it will join forces with the ANC and UDA in the next general election. Civil servants seeking to join elective politics must resign on or before February 9th, 2022. In a ruling delivered, the High Court maintained that all civil servants must resign 6 months to the general election. The court ruling quashed a petition to extend the stay in office of public officers who are keen on elective seats in the 2022 general election. The public servants with political ambitions now have exactly 2 weeks in office before relinquishing their jobs. A 23-year-old man is currently being detained by police officers in Murang'a County for allegedly murdering his 4-month-old son. Mark Njuguna is said to have gotten into a physical altercation with his wife, Mary Muthui. In a now viral video, Njuguna is seen physically assaulting Muthui using a belt at their family home in Kimberley. Njuguna then makes his way to the child while feeding off his mother before grabbing and tossing him towards another side of the room. The infant, who the suspect claimed is not his biological son, died immediately after landing on the concrete floor head first. And US-based pharmaceutical giant Pfizer and its German partner BioNTech have announced a clinical trial of the new version of their COVID-19 vaccine specifically designed to protect against the Omicron variant of the coronavirus. The company said it will test the new vaccine as both a primary and booster dose in more than 1,400 healthy adults, volunteers between ages of 18 and 55. The clinical trial of Pfizer's Omicron-specific vaccine comes amid the release of a new study that suggests antibodies produced by a third dose of the original shot still will provide robust protection 4 months after the final shot. This as Newswire continues to urge you to go get vaccinated so you could protect yourself and those that you love. And sprinter Ferdinand Omanyala has been voted as Sportsman of the Year, the 2021 Sports Personality of the Year Awards, receiving Kenyan Sports Annual Honor as a reward for his remarkable achievements that year. Faith Kipyegon beat Olympic marathon champion Paris Jepchirchir and Harambee Starlets Gentrix Shirangwa for a maiden award in the women's category. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
The SpiceFM Newswire is brought to you by InDriver. Download the InDriver app from the App Store or Google Play Store to enjoy a safe, comfortable, and affordable ride around Nairobi.
There's traffic on the Thika Superhighway this morning, and quite heavily so. It's going all the way to the junction coming from Outer Ring. Also, Outer Ring feeding off onto the Thika Superhighway. Quite something this morning. We're looking at Kiambu Road, also in and outbound traffic. It doesn't look too pretty right now. Limuru Road also in and outbound. 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th Parklands Avenue. Quite some action going on there. Coming out of Westlands is quite a thing this morning as well. Not too terrible though. Don't forget you can use the Red Hill Link Road. There's an option for you to get into the city quicker. All right, Juja Road also doing the thing this morning, and it also continues coming off Mombasa Road a little bit here and there, coming out from Sabaki towards the SGR. Okay, so Wednesday morning musings with traffic this morning. Not too terrible where we're looking at it. Let us know if things do get out of whack. Talk to us on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room.
8 minutes after 7. Good morning. How are you doing? It's still January. It's the 26th. You said how many more days, Ndu?
6. Are you counting today?
You know, early in the morning you said 5.
Oh, stop it. Are we counting today? If we're counting today, then 6. If we're not counting today, then 5.
See?
Are you counting the days to the salary or to the end of the month?
Yes, to the end
I
of
just
January.
need 79 days of January to be over. He started complaining in December.
Mashima, you know you're the lawyer here. There is no way we are going to admit that we are counting the days to the day you are paid. So that won't happen.
Where else will January be longer? Because
January is longer because December is shorter.
Yes.
because people are paid just before the holiday. They spend everything during the holiday. And then they start the January, and everybody is looking at each other. And you've just professed the fact that since the year started, there's no traffic on Mombasa Road. So you will start next month.
Right. Hey, our guest this hour is Hassan Omar Hassan. He's a rights campaigner. He's a former senator, former commissioner with the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, and he is going for the governor of Mombasa position for the second time. We'll be talking about the prospects of the Coast Province, Coast Region. What does the Coast Region really need? But let's first hear the day's proverb. City?
Mchimba kisima huingia mwenyewe.
Kufanya nini?
Sio akichimba baba, kwani utachimbaje kisima kabla ikiwa hutaingia, hutajitumbukiza ndani? Yes. So in English, he who digs a well enters it themselves. But the meaning is a little more profound than that. Yes. Because on the one hand, it is, well, if you dig a well and you don't take safety measures, now this is my interpretation, there's a likelihood you could fall into it. But then there's the other meaning that you actually cannot dig a well if you do not keep immersing yourself with the depths of it as you dig along. Yes.
You must be in it.
You will be in it. Yes. Not must. Will be.
To dig it, you will be in it.
Yes. Otherwise, you cannot actually dig it.
Okay.
Yes.
Senator Hassan Omar Hassan.
It is what's trying to tell me I'm doing it well.
We'll eventually get
see.
Let's see how deep you dig yourself into this one.
Muga, you know, he's from Mombasa, and it pays to say how he's digging to the River Yala. But it is possible. Yeah.
Welcome to the Situation Room.
Thank you, Eric.
Good to have you in the show. We call that the hot seat, but you know Muga, he's your friend.
He is not necessarily a friend. He's a person I know very, very well. But so if I said he's a friend, it could mean he might not be objective in this show. He's a friend outside this Situation Room.
Oh, by the way,
he's a friend outside the Situation Room.
You know how it is. You hear of discounts for friends and relatives.
Yeah.
Hapa.
Yes.
Haipo baba.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. He's not a friend.
There are no
outside
discount.
Situation
no
room.
friendship discounts.
Yes, absolutely. That's outside the Situation Room.
After the show.
Yes, absolutely.
Hassan, you've been in the UDA campaign for quite a while. I mean, we saw you making the move and, working. You've been working behind the scenes, I believe, on the structure of the UDA campaign and how it's going to look like. And that's why we want you to come and tell us about what the prospects are for the coast. What are the plans and the programs that UDA is going to sell to the coast or has been selling to the coast, just to understand them in nitty-gritty. But let's first start with Mombasa. So you want to be the governor of Mombasa. You've been senator of Mombasa County.
Yes, absolutely.
You wanted to be governor in the last election, and you want to be governor again in this election.
Absolutely.
What are the main issues? What are the main pain points for Mombasa County?
I think Mombasa, being urban, has the same kind of pinpoints as you put them, like the rest of Kenya. You'll find that the urban trends are almost similar. But if you do a research specific to Mombasa, at the moment, what towers is unemployment, which has been exacerbated by the shift of the logistic functions, which is the maritime or the port economy into just across the road here at the ICD. And I think it has affected an entire chain. The worst bit about it is that the leadership decided to be a beneficiary to that scheme, and without a response to how to alleviate part of the economic downturn that the cost is. Muga will tell you with his relatives there that it's a ghost town. Shops are closing. Everybody is turning every little space into a showroom. I don't know what it is about cars lately. the streams upon which people could make money have been suffocated. The small sector or the small SMEs cannot intertwined to people's affluence. And therefore, by and large, Mombasa is about economy. It's about leadership that is more creative, thought-provoking, as you put it in your intro. And it's about also steering the boat and nexusing it with national government programs, because Mombasa, as Kenya's second biggest metropolis and contributing significantly to Kenya's GDP, I think at about 16% at the moment, has to continue to enjoy a certain nexus with national government in terms of development priorities. So I think we are thinking about a whole remake of Mombasa, from it now being that port city that is an economic hub, like port cities across the world, in Singapore, in Amsterdam, and other port cities. So I am quite confident that there is a process of reimagining Mombasa. That is a process offered by the entire political space, because you can't reimagine Mombasa as an island.
Reimagining it also, and then looking at solutions.
Yes.
Obviously, when we say we're into the business of solution making, you have to look at what went wrong.
Yes.
Right. Why do you think things have what you described? Why do you think the tap has been shut on the economy? Why do you think all these things have happened in the manner in which they have?
I for lack of trying to be divisive in terms of classes, I came from a really Marxist school. I actually believed that the economy must be in the hands of the workers and not the few capitalists. What we have done effectively in Kenya is to not only put it into the hands of a few capitalists, but in the hands of a few capitalist politicians and their families. And therefore, every sector of the economy is being ruined to pave way to private sector growth of a private company or of a private family interest. It's happening in Mombasa. It's happening at the national level. And this, what it has then done, it has dried up the taps. Whereas these people who thought they could get richer have gotten richer. They have a bit more money now. But nobody is able to use their services. Nobody is able to purchase from them. So I think what has happened is, if you look at Kenya's politics, it's a string of an ecosystem of interests that has been strung together. The Mombasa governor and his family in the logistic economy, which is the mainstay of Mombasa's economy, nexusing it with some people who have already taken the national shipping line and want to privatize the port services and allocated themselves logistic functions at the port. They want this. The SGR is already in Nairobi, the port or the logistic economy. They are the ICD. They have allocated themselves concessions here even to transport those goods into here so that they can be an incentive en route to their farms and probably beyond. So if you look at it, it's almost an entire scheme. So as they do this, they are making everybody else poorer. But the net effect is everybody then has no money.
Let me ask you this question. The ICD in Nairobi.
Yes.
The infrastructure that they've built in Naivasha. Are you therefore saying that all this is unnecessary, that we didn't need to build this?
I think it was imagined on the basis of personal greed of a couple of individuals. You can, if you imagine development holistically, if you imagine the economy holistically, then you divorce yourself from the greed, and therefore you're able to apply things more objectively. The haste in the SGR, and what we've had Tinga saying time and again, that we got a road deal, renegotiating the SGR, putting it into some kind of a government to government, so that you can access a loan and some concessions that we are told are now subject to confidentiality clauses. You put an instrument like the port as a security. Total abrogation of national interest, and therefore when that happens, that infrastructure that you're creating was supposed to create jobs, but that infrastructure is in effect taking away jobs. So there is no produce up there in terms of production from let's say the Kenyan farmlands, be it Eldoret, be it Nairobi, be it central Kenya, to go back into the rail. The rail is constantly inwards, bringing imported cars, imported grain, imported everything. So the whole idea, so it kills an entire chain of economy to create a line that I think people got paid handsomely. I was reading this from part of an international investigative journalist organization saying that they think there are offshore accounts in France that traded in up to $600 million in commissions of the SGR when these monies were being paid out in phases. So, so what I think happened is they dried up the taps for everybody. And this infrastructure, important as it might have been, it did not necessarily contribute to the economic growth. So you're creating infrastructure. You are telling us here we have roads, we are going to have an expressway, but how many jobs is it creating? Are people still capacitated to use this infrastructure in terms of regenerating the economy?
You see, what I'm asking is this. So we didn't need it. We didn't need the ICD, we didn't need it.
No, you know, there's a man called Kibaki. He still towers high as the best of the 4 presidents. Uhuru, I think, the last. He imagined, these are part of his Vision 2030. That Vision 2030 then, Uhuru came and dropped it. You don't see any mention or reference to Vision 2030. What they became interested in is cherry-picking a few infrastructure projects without the holistic implementation of that vision, so that they can earn quick commissions, quick kickbacks. I recall very well, I even tell DP. I remember the time when it was DP, and they literally walked as a cabinet to defend the SGR and said it's going to go on, it's fait accompli. And they thought it was an important infrastructure project. It was going to define their legacy and Uhuru's legacy. So and therefore I think they collapsed the whole idea that there was a Vision 2030. Vision 2030 imagined as we are developing the SGR in an affordable rate, with competitively internationally, what we see is rumored to be happening in Ethiopia, or is rumored to be happening in Tanzania. It was supposed then to grow an entire ecosystem or diversity in terms of diversification of the economy. Mombasa was supposed to be quite ahead in terms of the implementation of the Blue Economy program. It was supposed to be quite ahead in the implementation of the establishment of special economic zones. It was supposed to have reimagined the tourism product effectively so that the tourism product is more diverse. So there were a lot of things that were not happening together. So what then Uhuru's obsession became was to put these projects that you see their bloggers constantly posting as Uhuru government delivers, Uhuru delivers. And in the net effect, they've put the country into such massive debt, 9 trillion shillings as it stands, against a GDP of 11 trillion. The economy is facing the real potential of collapse. And it has not reflected positively on the pockets of the Kenyan people.
So basically what you're saying is that, yes, it was, as imagined under Vision 2030, it was a necessary and a good project, but bungled by Jubilee administration.
Bungled by greed, family pride, family interests to get it to Naivasha and create another city there and create another city elsewhere. I think we must be very candid. You see, one thing also, I've always been asking, Kibaki's role, government, I remember I was very critical of it based on the disproportionate population of what I thought was Kibaki's, the Kikuyu community at that time. But every time you sat with a Kibaki economist, you left inspired that, yes, he might have been from Kibaki's village, but this man is all that it is, even in terms of economy. Uhuru, they are no thinkers. It appears he was him and Rotich and implementing and Big Ted, and they were making all these decisions, over what Sonko says, sometimes over drink and,
You're conveniently leaving Ruto out of that conversation.
I will come to that. I will come to that.
Because the government was Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto.
We've interrogated him on that matter, and he's been interrogated in national media on that matter. He presents the purpose of, they say, I remember the last time we told him in Mombasa that there's no way he can not continue talking about the SGR because it was a legacy under his administration.
Yep.
And he also is of the view that there was a report done by the Japanese JICA that a feasibility that is said and also by Trademark East Africa that before, as the SGR is en route to implementation, other things must also happen.
Yeah.
So the whole idea was never to disenfranchise. And then the SGR implementation has been one bad policy, that every cargo must go onto the SGR. Liberalize the market, let the SGR compete, but it's because of the kind of securities and the kind of personal interest that the SGR has at the moment in terms even of repayment. I believe when a new government comes in, it's able to renegotiate that facility, and it's dispassionate about, right now, do you know what it means to open up some of these contracts for Uhuru Kenyatta in person? Because I think people believe that the buck actually stops at the presidency. And I have heard him talking about how after their first term, they decided to do an audit of how now they can do the skill transfer. That's how they came with the universal healthcare. The big four, they came with the housing, they came with the manufacturing and food security. So that big four was to inform the capital intensive projects that they had over the first term as to how then they feed into the economy. But according to them, and even I have seen it, there was literally a suspension of that big four project. We were supposed to have 500,000 housing units by now. We hardly have 1,700 in somewhere around, is it Pangani?
And even then, the 1,600, exactly 1,600, are not all complete. There's only one unit that is fully complete, but the others are heading towards completion.
And then Kenyans went and had a look at them. We are like this country.
It's work in progress.
These are poor people. They are said, people who are supposed to be beneficiaries of affordable housing. Sema hii kajumba hii kadogo si ukae wewe na bibi yako. Kenya's houses are so small. Giving a Kenyan who is living, yes, he might be living in some informal settlement, but in about 100 square meters. You're telling him to squeeze himself into some 20 square meter with his family of 3.
Again, Hassan, just coming back to the topic, on you've talked about the main pain points, for example, of Mombasa. That when you talk about even tourism, the blue economy and all will cut across the entire coast region, right? There have been failures by leadership at national level, the Uhuru government. There have also been failures at parliamentary level, where we elect representatives to go and oversight and raise questions and demand answers for this. You served as a senator when all these things were being implemented. You and your colleagues, senators from the coast region, members of parliament from the coast region, where was your voice?
But there,
when all this heavy infrastructure and debts were being borrowed, when the debt ceiling was being raised?
I will not try to excuse myself from responsibility that must come as a collegiate, but at least exonerate me for at least speaking out time and again, even as a lone voice. Mombasa prided itself being an ODM zone, and I was the only wiper, I think, at that time with Awiti. Awiti never raised a lot of these issues. For some various limitations, but I did in many theaters where I kept telling the county and reminding them, all is not well with this county. Money, the non-priority expenditure. You are removing pavements that were put there since the colonial period. They look quite okay, and you're putting pavements that are red in color just because you want to benefit a family member. So, and I said, when development is conceptualized as a theft enterprise, then it doesn't become development. It just becomes sheer theft. So, rather than invest in the areas that were really service sectors that were necessary, healthcare, probably making it easy in terms of ease of doing business for small-scale enterprise, you started, raining on them, telling people to paint their houses blue and white. You started, going on this blitz, and there was really no pattern of progressive development.
Now, what you're doing is actually considered to be easy. Pinpointing and saying this is wrong, this isn't right, this should be done this way. So tell us, what is your vision for Mombasa?
That's what I called reimagining or remaking or re-engineering. Yes. With the audit, first you have to audit where the problem is, like an auditor. Then you now need to be solution-oriented, to use your words. And therefore, for us, there are various interventions immediately that we want to have when we get into Mombasa. First and foremost, it's non-negotiable. Systematically, within the first 100 days, the order in terms of the illegal transfer.
Mheshimiwa, tell me, what is this thing with 100 days?
100 days was a benchmark. I was told there was an American president who started this whole culture of 100 days. Because effectively does, that's the time when your government is probably most popular and people have given it the clean bill of health. That's the time you remember when Kibaki told us to walk and take over KICC. We restructured the potato sector. If we didn't do it within with that day, with the euphoria, with the euphoria,
then you won't do it. When the jubilation and celebration is over, definitely you won't do it.
I told her, come and storm this place.
So
It's likely.
So within the first
100 days.
What are you guys going to do within the first 100 days?
So the first 100 days will be spent doing what?
But the first 100 days, I think we've done an audit of various policies. We want to first and foremost bring down the cost of living drastically. So what we do is Mombasa has no real agriculture, but we have markets that impact on the price of food. So we want to ensure that first and foremost we remove all levies or whatever they call taxes or tariffs that impact directly on the cost of food. And that will be done also in consultation with the national government, because then we'll also need to plug various budgetary deficits. Then we intend, and that is not negotiable, to restore part of the logistic economy back into Mombasa. To liberalize the space. The courts have said, I think the parliament has said that enforcement is illegal, yet nothing has been done to move it backward. It's because we are paying a debt. And if we don't move that cargo through that, so therefore the national government needs to revise that order in terms of its enforcement and be able to at least restore part of the logistic functions. That, to a certain extent, starts to bring in some money back into the economy. Then there's this. Then I'm in tandem with this hustler fund. This bottom up. The bottom up is about the economy. It's about putting some kind of working capital within the hands of what we call the hustlers. We did our own research. 64% of Kenyans below the 30 and below are hustling in their own little way. They've opened some little businesses somewhere, which they call side hustles. They're either in the mtumba business, they're either doing saloon, they're doing kinyozi, they're doing electronics, they're doing something somewhere. But their greatest impediment is access to cheap and affordable working capital. So we want to make that available so that immediately we put money into the economy, we start to expand our revenue bases. We start to spur some kind of growth. And these people have an average income of about 35,000. It's just like what a teacher earns in a high school, I think. So there is a way in which this hustlerization, or by putting some bit of money there, will start to spur some bit of economic activity. And also now the UDA government, the Ruto government, hopes to do that in the first 100 days, move a law to create the framework and pull in some money from non-priority expenditure and put the first 100 billion in the first 100 or 100 days of the first 3 to 5 months. And therefore we start to put some money into the economy. And to start supporting
people's
production.
Hands and people's pockets. Let's take a break. It's 7:30. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. Our guest this morning is Hassan Omar Hassan, the gubernatorial aspirant for Mombasa County. He is also a former senator of Mombasa, so he understands the county pretty well. We're talking about what the UDA or the Ruto campaign wants to do for the coast region. What are the areas that would be your focus, and what are the main areas that the people of coast want to see change in? We'll be back shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
Hey, it's getting hot in here. The media has greatly contributed to the moral rot that we experience in this country.
I remember a senior politician telling me, point blank, nobody steals in the field, it's stolen in the granary. So my friend, if you're going to win an election, jipange kwa granary.
I think we are suffering from Stockholm syndrome. Our violator and abuser is also our redeemer in our mind.
The whole political class, the whole political institution is rotten. It is based on ideals that cannot progress our country forward.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The sun's out in Nairobi. We'll see highs of 26 and lows of 14 today. Sunny conditions at 14 in Nakuru, highs of 28 and lows of 12. 10 will be the low in Nyeri, where it's sunny at 15. We'll see highs of 26. 25 will be the high in Eldoret, where it's currently sunny at 13. In Mombasa, partly sunny conditions at 25, highs of 32, and 31 will be the high in Malindi, where it's partly sunny currently at 26. Mostly sunny at 19 in Kisumu, highs of 31 and lows of 19. And we're looking at sunny conditions at 18 currently in Kakamega, highs of 31 and lows of 15. It's sunny in Kampala at 19, highs of 29 today. Mostly cloudy conditions at 27 in Dar es Salaam, highs of 31 and lows of 26. We're looking at sunny conditions at 14 in Johannesburg, highs of 27. 34 will be the high in Lagos, where it's a cloudy morning at 25, and it's cloudy at 23 in Kinshasa, highs of 30 and lows of 23.
Sugar and spice and everything Spice FM.
Langata Road is literally a parking lot this morning. Nothing is moving. Traffic has started all the way from KWS out towards the roundabout at Timor, spilling over to Raila Odinga Way. So there's construction, there's morning traffic, and it's an absolute mess this morning. So if you're on Langata Road, please accept my commiserations. If you have not yet reached Mombasa, Langata Road, you can use a bypass and go a little further ahead, get into the city the longer way, as opposed to sitting in that traffic. All right, let's look at what's happening in other parts. Mombasa Road continues with that traffic. Imara Daima, that in and outbound situation is still there. We have to watch out for that. The whole Westlands area clog up of traffic. Juja Road moving really slowly. Manyanja as well, as you're all trying to join Outer Ring and head out towards the Thika Superhighway. Speaking of which, that clogs up until about the drive-in, as well as Kiambu Road. Limuru Road not looking too bad now, but traffic is building. We're now officially in traffic hour. Let's see how it opens up during the morning. Talk to us on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
The conversation continues at 25 minutes to 8 o'clock. This is the Situation Room on Spice FM and also live streaming the show online. Eric Latiff, CT Muga Ndu Okoh, and our guests, Hassan Omar Hassan, who wants to be the next governor of Mombasa City County. I still call it city. I know it's the Nairobi that is officially Nairobi City County. Mombasa County. At 9 o'clock, we'll have somebody who also wants to be the governor in your neighboring county of Kilifi. And this is Gideon Mungaro. Let's come back into the issues that are affecting the coast. So you've told us about, for example, Mombasa economy. The port economy has been disrupted.
And then there's something also needed to add to that. There's been a massive investment by people in Mombasa in terms of these CFSs, container freight stations. And they were supposed to be a short gap measure towards some congestion at the port way back during the Minchuki era. They were not supposed to be an endless,
They're not supposed to be a permanent.
Well, permanent, exactly.
Yes.
That's the word. But then that investment also must be put to use. We have spoken to the center that is planning the UDA economic blueprint, that we need to create policy or a framework of law or regulations that allows us to create some kind of a free trading zone of FTZs, where we could have bring in import free kind of merchandise, and rather than somebody go all the way to Dubai, can come and buy a Japanese car there or whatever kind of. So we are looking at also very critically in how to spur that infrastructure in terms of the FTZs. But coming to your question on the coast region, we realized as politicians we're not experts in everything. In fact, that is also something.
You did, eh?
I think we need to stop for a moment.
Pose it. No, that realization hardly comes to many politicians. So you must say that as a starting point that we did realize that. And if you see at the Hustler Nation or UDA, there's a lot of integration between the academy and politics, because the people must be conscious of their limitations. You just because you speak good English doesn't necessarily mean you're educated. It could just be a station in life, having gotten you to speak that good English. Absolutely, you could have gone to you could have gone to St. Mary's. That doesn't mean anything, So you're not an economist per se. So you must be able to allow yourself to benefit from those who know. In fact, I think in our Quran, God doesn't discriminate anywhere, but he asks only one critical question about, are they equal? Those who know and those who know not. We were saying if God was to answer that question, he will say they are not. What sets apart human beings is knowledge. And that's why those who don't have it scandalize those who have it. And they call you all manners of name, arrogant.
It would seem, though, Hassan, because this is what we're talking about fundamentally here, that there are issues that have dogged the coast for the longest time. We've had, so many stories here of secession, etc., bringing the coast onto the national level. And now here you're saying that we're going into an election period and that there are those who know and that there are those who don't. I can only assume who you're saying who knows. But these people have been in government before.
Let me tell you.
They've been in government. They are currently in government. So the question is, what has been stopping them from doing this thing which they know all this time? And now we're going into another cycle. And then we are saying, well, there are those who know and don't know. And they ought to be given the opportunity.
Those who know is actually what I'm referring to the intelligentsia. We set up a cost economic regeneration team, which is chaired by a professor from Pwani University, who we have told either to draw for us a blueprint or to audit the blueprints that exist. We have the CDA, which has a blueprint, the Cost Development Authority. We have the Jumuiya County of Pwani. There are papers and papers after papers and counter papers that have talked about the development of the coast region. So what we've done is we've drawn up a cost economic regeneration plan. And as you said, there's no fundamental departure from those who have diagnosed the problem in the past, because the people who've diagnosed the problem are the same professors, but they've lacked the capacity in terms of political power to go and implement these types of programs. You see, most of the people...
I'm assuming that these reports are research-based.
Yeah, they're research-based. So, definitely, the JKP, Jumuiya County of Pwani, for a long time was being also supported by the British High Commission in terms of doing, or DFID, in terms of doing its research work. The same way for some of the regional economic forums that have generated as a function of devolution. So, what we have done is to come up with a cost economic regeneration plan, but at least for the first 5 to 10 years. And we realized that there were 3 or 4 pillars. So that we have two main sub-themes. One is Jenga Pwani, which involves about 3 subsectors, which is about the blue economy / the special economic zone, agriculture, and mining. And then we say Inua Pwani, meaning that these are service sectors that you must spur. So we have healthcare, we have education, and education, healthcare and education. So and I think and water. So we are saying to ourselves that in terms of the 3 Inua Pwani, those are now economic or developmental priorities. We want to invest in production. We want to ensure we build the special economic zones.
Hassan, I have to stop you right there.
Yes, please do.
Because what you're telling us is what anyone who is in a political party will tell us.
Absolutely.
This is what we want to do. These are plans we have. And all those plans are actually good. If you read them, if you try to understand them, they make sense. The question is always the how to.
The implementation.
Yes,
Absolutely.
Because, and telling us when we get into power, this is what we will do. That one, every other politician also tells us exactly the same thing. All right?
But I recognize that politicians literally probably source the same type of intellectuals, and there is a trust deficit in terms of whether politicians will be able to deliver. So now what we are saying is we have the capacity, and that's why we are distincting ourselves from those who have been there in the past.
See, the point is you are saying.
Yes, but you see, you come here to make these kinds of views every day. It's based on a certain background. You have a certain experience, and all of you have been qualified by a certain minimum standard. So what we're asking Kenyans is look and interrogate the character and capacity of this individual. What has he stood for? What has he represented? So in addition to the programs, we are trying to build a team that effectively appears as capable, based on to implement
Hassan,
these plans.
UDA has no track record beyond the things they promise and they say. The individuals in UDA, on the other hand, have track records.
And that's exactly what we are selling. Part of the team of individuals, particularly in the coast region, that is emerging, that could provide a qualitative departure from what we have seen in the past. And what is our starting point? Is to first and foremost change the conversation to economics, because some of us fare very badly when the conversation is ethnic. We find ourselves literally swimming in an island where we have to do political and ethnic mathematics that becomes extremely difficult. But then when you start to be an issue-based institution and you start to say, okay, let's inform part of these issues, and you present yourself as the person who's able to actually deliver on those issues. Muga, I have no interest whatsoever in the port logistic economy. I have never been a beneficiary of any contract, or neither do I intend to be a beneficiary of any contract. I have lived 46 years of my life trying to keep away my hands from the national till, despite having been in government in various intervals. So I'm saying, contrary to those who are there to protect interests, we are there to disrupt them. We are not there to preserve status quo. We are there to reimagine or to be able to disrupt status quo, so that we can be able to give people a greater reason to hope. You know, we come closer to the aspirations of many Kenyans. What I was telling some mothers when I met them, I said, I am more or less like your son in this regard. I have gone through schooling normally, and the only thing that puts me here today is the ability to sell an idea to you and the education that I received. I am not coming with a pile of money. I'm not coming with a family name. I'm not coming with a legacy to protect in terms of interest. I'm just coming reimagining that it is possible for all of you, for all your kids and all of us to get a better life. And these are the ideas we have accumulated over the times that I have been in the human rights space, in the advocacy space, and even in basic interactions with people I thought we share some ideological congruity.
You know, political parties have their benefits. They have their pull, like you say, ODM at the coast and in Mombasa, but they also have their baggage. Now, the question I want to ask you is, in your mind, do you really think that the voters in Mombasa County will be able to distinguish and put you aside and say, this is Hassan Omar, okay? We don't really care which party is in. We will look at him as our son and the person we know and vote for him.
I'm persuaded that the voters are becoming more and more sophisticated by the day. It is not the Kenya we had 20 years ago. We are evolving somewhat. If we look at, for instance, one fact, Mount Kenya today. The unease in Mount Kenya is the fact that the elitry there, which has, or the dynastical elitry, has not been able to put them in a basket and to tell them again, go in this direction or go in that direction. And these rebellions are literally happening across all societies. Young people are learning that, your son, the other one from another region are all in the same school. They are disrupting what was commonplace for us. So a lot of, you can almost bank on the fact that the evolution of society, slow as it might be, is creating a new Kenyan electorate that is becoming more and more conscious of its rights and its aspirations. They are all hungry. They all know the economy is shattered. Why are the people in Mount Kenya so angry with Uhuru Kenyatta? Yet he's a Kikuyu president or Mount Kenya president. He's shattered the economy.
Sure.
There's less money in their pockets.
People are hungry. People are expectant. People know what they want. Take it like when you go to look for insurance for whatever kind. There's a minimum guarantee that company will give you, that you're gonna put something in us, right? Every month or after every calculated period. And we're going to guarantee that the minimum will be this. How do they guarantee you that? Well, they show you over the last 100 years, we've not fallen, we've not shaken. This is what we've been able to do. These same people who are hungry, these same people who are expectant, these people from Mombasa who've been crying over the last 5 years, 10 years and saying this has gone too, are looking for that guarantee. That should they put their hope, which is now the currency that they will trade for a better tomorrow, in this individual, this is the minimum guarantee that this is what people are asking for now. What is it? What is the minimum guarantee that they can be sure of?
My guarantee, and sometimes I find it very difficult to talk about myself, is that I have, over the years, organically come into the movement to be the constitutional movement when I was at the university. That's where you form yourself ideologically. You believe that there are certain tenets of society that need to be reorganized. You get into some kind of formations. You win university student leadership. You activate that within the national space. You push, and you literally that time the university was the opposition because the opposition was either weak or dysfunctional. So you found yourself constantly at loggerheads with the Moi regime. Friends were dying. Students were shutting universities almost indefinitely. So I think based on that, you start to pick a certain value system, and the more you start to interact, you go there. By God's greatest faith and favor, you then continue to align yourself with the right and progressive forces. They continue to build your belief in a certain system of government and life. You get into the human rights space. You get into first into activism and then the human rights space, and constantly, you're just imbibing yourself with an entire ecosystem of people who are just trying to shape and redefine and refine what you stand for. And in that, because of that self-audit and self-censure based on peer, I remember Maina telling us when we were in the KenCHR, account for every penny. If you're making so much noise, make sure there's nothing for them to hold you to account for. So keep away your hands from the national till. You get into Senate. Every other young senator and member of the National Assembly is at various ministries of roads looking for carer work, contracts, getting to KPA looking for this tender and that tender, and you are self-denial. You say, I will stand that. I remember that once there was a strike by KPA workers, and the CEO at that time, MD Nduria, I was the only politician who attended that strike, called by Sang and his team. Then they called me later, so I met them. I thought they wanted to resolve the strike. So when I met the two of them, him and the operational chief, at the Nyeri Golf Club, they told me, do you know why you're the only one who attended that demonstration? I said, no. Oh, that strike? I said, no. He says, because you're the only one who's not asking for anything from KPA. All the other MPs are asking for something. They have a contract in the pipeline. They have some wet works here. They have some wet works there. So I have tried in an ocean. We'll grant you an ocean of real sharks to try and navigate it. So I that's why I'm asking the people of Mombasa to give you an opportunity.
We'll grant you that. The fact that you as an individual, there's what you stand for. There's what you've spoken about, and you've got your track record. Okay, just like you've said, there need to be political goodwill and collaboration at county level and at national level. So if you become a UDA governor in Mombasa, and then we had a UDA president in State House, these are the same people, all these issues you're talking about, these are the same ones who have not implemented them. We're talking about killing the port economy of Mombasa. Ruto government killed the port economy of Mombasa. We are talking about education and advancement of education.
Where the handshake was not able to do anything about.
Right. So education, if we're talking about education and healthcare and water, why is it that to date water is still an issue for Mombasa and other coastal cities? Why is it? If this government, if the people who've been in charge of the national government this time have not delivered, how do we trust them to work with you to help you deliver on your promise to the people of Mombasa that you shall give them water?
This hustler nation of the Tanga, one of the best things about it was like it was an insurgency. It erupted from the inside. They rebelled from the mainstream Jubilee idea or mantra of Uhuru Kenyatta. I believe personally that Uhuru wanted to extend his stay in power.
You actually think that the split was because of what you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely. I totally believe that.
Okay,
because I used to see the Murade's narratives about the Medvedev vis-a-vis Putin, a kind of a shift, how Uhuru is still young, and that in Kikuyu Dome, that's when the leadership starts at 60 and stuff. So I could tell the narrative. It's just that then people became a bit anxious about this prolonged, and they thought they could sell something to Raila to put him in power and probably create a transition where Raila would play ball. So, and finally the BBI collapsed, and a few other things that were part of the grand scheme collapsed. But it became an insurgency. People are shaped by certain theaters of history. I believe when some of these guys probably were in this comfort zone. When this kind of unprecedented rebellion happened and the victimization followed, and people are awake themselves to certain new realities, and they undergo, in my estimation, a redemption of sort. So I want to believe some of these allies exited Jubilee and left a lot of the core of Jubilee intact in terms of the cartels. So they literally just, you'll find that Ruto's...
So it's the top layer.
So the Ruto ecosystem is fundamentally different right now. That's why you see it populated by Hassan Omar and David Ndii and a few other people. Because that ecosystem that perverted the economy is still within the administration of the Jubilee government.
So let me ask you, I want to ask you a specific question, because I'm asking this one, and let's get into it specifically. You're talking about very many funds. So, for instance, for economic empowerment of the people, of small businesses and all, and funds are going to be put in place. This is the same administration, the person who's heading your campaign, same administration that said, in fact, if 2013, we go into office round one without a rerun, that money is going to be put into a fund. Uwezo Fund was created. Have we seen the impact of Uwezo Fund, Youth Enterprise Development Fund, and the others? And I'll remind you what everybody in Tanga keeps telling us, that in the first term, Uhuru and Ruto were working together, and Ruto was very much involved in the running of government. So when he was very much involved in running of government, what did Uwezo Fund do that we can now entrust and know 100 billion shillings fund will be delivered?
As I said, that's going, a lot of people, I'm not going to defend or try to speak to Jubilee's first term because I was fairly also critical of it. I am imagining from what we have picked from Jubilee's first term and the experiences of some of the many experiences that we see today, I'm a bit more optimistic that the allies that we have formed ourselves around are capable of delivering some of these promises. We have strategically positioned ourselves from various parties. UDAs are coming together of people from Jubilee, ODM, Ford Kenya, all these manners of parties, independent, Muhammad Ali and the team. So I want to believe that we fermented a common vision. And we are going not into a government by a partnership with part of the leadership that is there. And the partnership is based on piecing all these economic blueprints from the various regions and then driven by a leadership that is committed to it. So I have a feeling that we might just be, based on the kind of experience, the baptismal by fire. Ruto has undergone various baptismals by fire. Betrayed by Raila, who after he helped him win an election, because I feel that Raila tried to push him out of his own government in the Nusumkate. Gets into the ICC with Uhuru Kenyatta. Get out of the ICC with Uhuru Kenyatta. The same Uhuru Kenyatta now tries to put him to size, tries to deny him the benefit of
Hassan,
the
you
president.
You do know we're talking about politics.
You're making it look as though he's purely a victim.
No, it's not a question about victim calling.
So
what
because
I'm
of that,
simply
he's
saying,
changed.
What happens, people then are shaped by various circumstances. And therefore, these elections, the way it has now been phrased, and I agree with Mweli Mutunga, we don't have a way out. It's either you're with Raila Odinga or William Ruto. I don't see anything in between, and I'm happy that somebody like Mudavadi has already chosen a side. Now we are left with Kalonzo, and my trust is that Kalonzo will choose wisely, because I can tell you the numbers are not in favor of a Raila victory. They are fundamentally disadvantaged.
We don't expect you to say anything different, really. Given that
Muga, go do your science. Go do your science.
Given that
we are powered by real research. So my view, Latiff, is I'm not able to do it alone. I have to choose a side. Even today, if you came into politics, I see journalists coming into politics. There are these things that we internalize, we fraternize and romanticize, third force, Sijui Willy Mutunga, not Willy Mutunga, what's he called? Kivuta Kibwana, and unfortunately Mukhisa Kitui it's dead on arrival. You have another, fraternization, romanticism. But we are in a real political world. I have to, as a person, choose a side and dig in and have faith that I can pursue that ambition and interest, and then pursue the programs that I intend to execute in Mombasa County.
Hassan, should your party get into power?
Yes, sir.
Given that the political animals we have in this country are the same ones we've had before, the very things that you're disenfranchised about when you're in the Senate, I'm going to be a prophet here. They will replicate and repeat themselves, because I do not see a situation where the politician in this country is actually going to become a different person. You are an idealist, and you believe, you are actually an honest believer, as I call them. But to imagine that the rest of your competitors are the same, that's a bit far-fetched.
But Muga, what choices do we have?
What
We have
would
to get into this
You have
space.
to work. You have to work
get
into this
into this
with the
space.
devil
To
in.
then prove yourself.
Yeah, to prove yourself, and also build camaraderie, build allies, and hope that with every successive election, a new critical mass will be emerging, and that's how. So you achieve through an evolution rather than a revolution.
Okay.
So I'm hoping by the next phase, a new critical mass will have come up, and it is able probably to deliver on the functions or the expectations of the Kenyan and aspirations of the Kenyan public.
Hassan Omar, thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you for articulating the issues as you have, and we want to invite you again in coming days.
I'm looking forward.
Yep. So come and let's talk about your campaign, what you're seeing, what you believe is what ought to work in the country going forward. Thank you very much. Keep it right here for more conversations. Coming up in the next hour, we have the Honorable Joe Mushero, the Cabinet Secretary for ICT, Innovation and Youth Affairs. We're talking about data management in the country. Good morning. It's 8 a.m.
Also from Lenana.
Spice up your life.
The SpiceFM Newswire is brought to you by InDriver. Choose your preferred driver, mode of transport, and negotiate your fare to your destination for a safe, comfortable, and affordable trip only with InDriver.
The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
This is Newswire. Dennis Aseto. Senators must submit amendment to the political party's bill to the office of the clerk by 2:30 p.m. today. Senate Speaker Ken Lusaka says any amendment received after this time will not be accepted. The Speaker further urged the senators to exercise restraint, maintain decorum that is expected of a functioning legislature, and adhere to the standing orders during the debate of the bill. The chairperson of the Standing Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs and Human Rights tabled the report of the committee on the bill Tuesday afternoon ahead of the second reading. Upon conclusion of the second reading, the bill will stand committed to the Committee of the Whole House, where senators may submit amendments to the bill for consideration. Garissa County Election Manager Hussein Gure is now appealing to the area leadership to assist the electoral body in mobilizing eligible voters to register before the deadline on the second enhanced registration that comes to a close in 2 weeks' time. Gure said that the political class played a vital role during the first enhanced continuous voter registration exercise that was conducted between October 4th and November 5th, 2021. Gure said that Garissa County came in second with 50% to Turkana that recorded over 63%. On low voter turnout, the elections officials singled out Lagdera constituency, where some eligible voters were forced to move to neighboring sub-counties and countries in search of water and pasture for their animals. And Kenya's ambassador to the United Nations, Martin Kimani, Tuesday called for urgent and fundamental reforms for the UN Security Council to allow the full representation of African countries. According to Kimani, this is necessary, especially given that a majority of peace and security issues are taking place on the African continent. He reiterated that at a time of increasing geopolitical rivalries by great powers, some who are members of the Council, and their dangerous effects on third countries, a more balanced United Nations Security Council is key to protecting humanity from the difficult to predict major war. Speaking during a Security Council meeting on the protection of civilians in armed conflicts, the Kenyan diplomat noted the last two world wars have come as a surprise. The next one is likely to be the same if we do not undertake urgent Security Council reforms that bring balance to permanent membership and the veto. The trial of Joseph Irungu alias Joey and journalist Jackie Maribe resumed with 3 prosecution witnesses taking the stand. A security guard whose identity card was found at the Kilibani scene of crime, A caretaker at Langata's Royal Park Estate and former Kilimani Deputy OCS appeared before Justice Grayson Zioka to give details that the prosecution believes will firm up its case. 7 more witnesses are set to give their testimony before the case is handed over to the accused persons. Dominic Bissera, the guard, told the court that he had lost his identity card at Langata's Royal Park Estate, where he had gone to work as one of the casuals at a construction site and left his ID at the gate only for him to never find it again. Kennedy Araman, the then Kilimani Deputy OCS, outlined how 3 witnesses separately identified Joey positively at an identification parade on September 25, 2018, a statement that was interrogated by Defense Counsel Katwa Keegan. A caretaker at Royal Park Estate, where the 2 accused lived, confirmed their residence to the court, adding that no gunshot was heard within the estate as claimed. 7 more witnesses are expected to take to the stand before the case is handed to the defense to call its witnesses. Now, the traffic snarl by the Kenya-Uganda border has drastically reduced as officials race to clear the backlog ahead by today. More customs officials and equipment have been dispatched to the border posts to assist in clearing cargo and persons crossing the border. Last week, Kenya and Uganda officials agreed on modalities to have a single COVID-19 certificate to ease the movement of goods and services across the 2 countries. With the deadline fast approaching, 80 kilometers backlog in the Malaba border has drastically reduced to 25 kilometers, with the Busia border that had stretched 30 kilometers reduced to 8 kilometers. East African Business Council is calling for a unified COVID-19 certificate to the East African community to ease the cost of business in the region. And Kenya is first emerging as an African hub for cancer diagnosis and management following the opening of the Integrated Molecular Imaging Center IMIC at the Kenyatta University Teaching, Referral and Research Hospital. The hospital has also commissioned a cancer hospitality center to cater to patients undergoing cancer chemotherapy treatment. According to the Ministry of Health data, 42,000 Kenyans are diagnosed with cancer each year, with 27,000 dying annually. And Sadio Mane scored as Senegal beat 9-man Cape Verde 2-0 in the last 16 at the Africa Cup of Nations, but was immediately forced off with a concussion. Mane called in off the underside of the crossbar soon after keeper Vonzina had been dismissed over a nasty clash of heads with the Liverpool forward. Mane continued despite appearing to be briefly knocked out in the incident. This is Newswire. Dennis Aseto.
The SpiceFM Newswire is brought to you by InDriver. Download the InDriver app from the App Store or Google Play Store to enjoy a safe, comfortable, and affordable ride around Nairobi.
A few minutes after 8 o'clock, and we are definitely in the thick of things as concerns traffic this morning. Uhuru Highway in and outbound. Some traffic going towards the city centre, out through towards Westlands. And it's also quite busy on Gong Road this morning. Westlands, you can escape that using the Red Hill Link Road. There's your option. Jogoro this morning, quite packed. Langata Road, absolute mess, moving really slowly. We're talking about parking lot status now. And Raila Odinga is taking some of that all the way through to the roundabout and then connecting with the traffic that exists on Gong Road. All right, Mombasa Road also continues quite some. At Imara Daima, we have that hold up. Don't forget that it's because of construction. You can use the southern bypass to get out of that if you've come up just before the ICD. So there it is. Outer Ring, ebbing and flowing here and there. The thicker superhighway also looking just a tad better just after the Utali Drift. Kiambu Road, totally different story because it's an absolute mess, as is Limuru Road in and outbound this morning. We are in traffic hour. Let's be careful, guys, whichever way we choose to traverse the streets. Let's talk on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room.
8 minutes after 8
the only
on
way
Wednesday,
to start
the
your day.
26th day of January 2022. Still 6 days to go.
Yes, it's still 6
to
at
the
8
end
o'clock.
of January.
Today being counted, of course.
Okay. We are still in January. We have our guests in the studio. We'll be introducing him shortly. But first, let's hear the day's proverb, City.
Mchimba kisima huingia mwenyewe.
Mchimba kisima
Yes.
huingia mwenyewe.
Yes, achimbaye kisima lazima ajitumbukize kwenye kisima anapoichimba, kwa ufupi.
Ye mwenyewe.
Ye mwenyewe.
In English, please.
I thought I've just spoken in English.
Okay,
Anyway,
the other English.
He who digs a well must enter it themselves.
A deep one.
We're not discussing a borehole here. Talking about a well and the traditional way of digging a well. You dig it at every level. You keep immersing yourself deeper and deeper into it. Yes.
Indeed. Our guest for this hour is the Cabinet Secretary for ICT, Innovation and Youth Affairs, the Honorable Joe Mushero. Good morning, Buenos Dias.
Good morning.
Good to have you in the Situation Room.
I'm happy to be here. In fact, I've been looking forward to experiencing these studios. I think you've done a great job in terms of the revamp and bringing now all the technologies together, radio, TV, social media. So really happy to be here and to immerse myself in, I don't know whether it's triple play or what you call it, but having all that.
It's a multicast.
Yeah.
We are live on SpiceFM. We are also live streaming the show on YouTube and Facebook, and we are live on KTN Home. This is what the CS is referring to. He's a CS in charge of ICT broadcasting. He gets it. He's playing you. Buenos Dias, thank you very much for joining us. You have been a busy man. We've been waiting to have this conversation with you. When it comes to issues of ICT innovation, you're not just those people who you can say, okay, this one is tokenism who's landed here. I mean, you've been in this sector of ICT for very many years. You among the people who actually started internet service providers in this country. With Wananchi, you have worked for Google, and now you are in the ministry. So we know that you know what we are going to ask you.
Okay.
We're going to talk about.
It depends.
We're going to talk about data management and the state of data management in this country. So let me just give a background to this. We have had very many instances where we interact with government, and government is asking us for information, or various government, different departments of government asking for your information, critical information. You are applying for an ID, they want your information. You're applying for a passport, they're getting a biometric information. We have the start and stop Huduma registration asking for biometric information. Right now, we have IEBC registering voters asking for biometric information. KRA is asking for your PIN and telling your bank if this person does not have your PIN, you should not give information. So there's a lot of information that I'm giving everywhere across the country to various people, and the government ought to protect that information. That's the background of the conversation that we want to have today.
Right.
Now, tell us about the Data Commissioner's Office as we start the conversation, and what of the importance of having a data commissioner.
Let me add that you're also giving your information to social media sites when you're creating the accounts, sites that are not even within the country. So this is not just government that is asking for information, but also private businesses.
Even Google has all my data
that are outside, and data includes like the maps. They will tell you where you went 2 years ago, where you were last night. All these things that sometimes people don't want publicized.
Yeah.
So you're getting all that information. So one of the things we wanted to do, and the president was very keen on this, is to, everybody is asking for information, especially government. How can we centralize and say, we have a central msema kweli for your biometric data, so that if you need a passport, if you need a driving license, whatever you need, it's all going to be under one platform. And that is what the Huduma Number was, a social security number. And that's what we are building. Yes, we're going through all these legal processes, but I believe in the end, that is where you're going to have your msema kweli. And because that is what we're doing, the first thing people were saying, but how can you ensure that our data is secure? And, they went even to court to say that, you must. And one of the requirements was that we must have a data protection law. We had been going through a process of getting both the privacy and data protection, as well as access to information laws put together. But through Parliament, they were separated. So now we have a data protection act or law that is in place. We also have a data commissioner that is in place, almost a year old now in office. And they have really, the purpose is to protect your privacy, protect your data, where data is going and the amount of data that is being collected and how it can be used. People can even steal your identity, all these things. We must have a regulator to make sure that data, that your own personal data is protected. And that's the role of the Data Commissioner's Office.
There are those who have argued that with the introduction of an instrument like the Huduma Number, what you've then done is gone and given the government even more power than it already has over your life. Because one, they have all your information at their fingertips, and it is something they can use adversely if they choose to.
I think that, I think it's propaganda, because your birth certificate, the government has given you. Your ID is from the government. Your passport is from the government. Your marriage registration is government. Even your school results, all these things is government. Which data is this that the government is now getting that we didn't have? All we are saying is this data is becoming very important. Let us centralize it. So today, NTSA wants your biometric data, NHIF wants your biometric data, IBC wants your biometric.
Everybody wants your biometric.
Why should we as taxpayers pay 10 times for collecting the same data? So that every institution is collecting this data, they're then securing it in vaults, they're doing all. So we're paying so much for as many institutions there. Why can't we just pay once in one central place and it's there?
Can you maybe
why must somebody you have to fly from so far to come and deal with NHIF?
Yeah.
You go back to Turkana, now you want your driver's license, you fly back or you drive back.
Sure.
You're going to NTSA.
I think it makes sense in some cases when we don't understand something. Maybe that's around when this supposed propaganda that you talk about then comes into play. So what is the idea behind this? How much easier would it be to have all of this data in the same place? What are some of the things, 1, 2, 3, that you would be able to do as a Kenyan operating in this country seamlessly, as government, seamlessly, cost effectively, if you had all of this data in one place, which is what this is purporting to do?
It's not purporting, it is doing.
It's going to do.
The idea is this. So you've been born. Why must it be that when you're 18 and you need an ID, you have to look for government?
You have to apply.
You go find your chief, you go do all these things in order for you to get an ID. We know you're now 18. You should automatically get your
In fact, I went
ID.
through school and I got a KCPE certificate from government,
Yes.
KCAC certificate from government, and then the government...
Even a birth certificate.
I have to prove to the government that I'm a Kenyan to get an ID.
Why is that? And that's why I'm saying with the Huduma number, from when you're born, you have your number. And with that number, you can go open a bank account. You can go even get your mobile phone number. So I'm talking even in the private sector, not just within government. You have your information where you're going to hospital. So if you happen to be, say, from the coast region, and now you're in Nyanza and you're sick, they have to start asking who are you, where, all these details. But if you have one unique number, they can actually be able to service you wherever you are and even send your data back to whichever county you're from. So it makes life very easy for you as a citizen, because you can apply for your passport at the comfort of your home. You don't have to go and give biometrics again because you give. So you want your passport, you want your driver's license, whatever, you apply. We have about 300 plus services now on eCitizen. And the ones where you have to physically go is because you're being required to go give fingerprints.
Right.
Even if we already know who you are, you can get your even certificate of good conduct online because you're just putting in your Huduma number, and it makes life a lot easier. So this is not a card for the government. It is your data, it is your service, and that is the one that you will use to be able to access government services, to access even private sector services, and do it knowing that it is you. Nobody is going to use your ID and fake and say it's you because it's biometric. And so the data protection is why we have, so that people don't now misuse this card. They don't misuse your data. We know that it is you, and how institutions use your data and information must be according to the way they are licensed by the Data Commissioner's Office. And if they go out of that, they are fined and so on. So that's protecting. But I hope I've answered the more than the 3 areas and created the efficiency. And it's not new. This is something the US, the Europe, people have had.
In fact,
I don't know why they're making it sound like Kenya is the only place we're starting this.
Last year, Bonasias, sitting right where you're seated today, was the president of Estonia. And she was telling us about her country, where it is about 90% digitized, with all this information that is held by the government. And she took us through, I mean, it's a journey that just took less than 12 years to get where they are. But they also worked closely with the citizens understanding what the government is doing, and they used the private sector to roll it out. Private sector was very, very much involved because the private sector also understood, and it's a place where people are interacting with private sector on a daily basis. Why aren't those lessons being applied, or are they being applied?
They have been applied.
So, for example, using the private sector to explain to people, okay, this is what's happening, or even using better communication from government to explain why this is happening. Not if you don't have Huduma number by February.
Where?
I think again, it depends on what is reported, and it depends on who is fighting. There are people. I think I'll give an example, and I'm sure there will be no major consequences because this is known. When we did the biometric registration of the police service, His Excellency announced we found how many? 5,000 fake police officers. Okay?
Ghost cops.
Ghost cops.
Okay.
Oh, it's not that they were
CT
not.
thought that there were individuals who were posing as.
No, no.
I said, hiya.
I'll admit my first task that the president gave me when I joined government was to give, all our students in Standard 1 laptops. So we went out and I was given the number. 1.32 million students required these tablets. When we finished issuing, because now we were physically issuing, it was 960,000.
So some 400,000.
400,000
were floating somewhere.
Ghost students.
Children.
Yes. That capitation was being paid for.
Good grief.
Now, those people that are getting that money, and by the way, you multiply that by 8 streams.
Yeah.
You think they've been sitting down ignoring and saying it's okay, bring in this Huduma number? Of course, they want to stop what we're doing because it's creating a lot of transparency and openness to ensure that Kenyans don't lose their taxpayers' money. So corruption fights back. So even though you've not had any business complain that we're introducing Huduma number, if you talk to the mobile operators who I engage with all the time, they are saying, please bring this thing quickly because it's going to help us in this registration of SIMs. Otherwise, right now, every operator pays for all this registration, it delays and so on. Banks are saying we want just a centralized identification place so that if you've taken a loan or if you've opened an account, they can be able to verify who you are. So they're all asking us. Desperately, they want this Huduma number. But you can see who are these people that don't want us to progress, don't want us to have this openness and transparency because, there's things that are going on that should not. And
Probably
technology is taking this thing away.
The other question maybe, CS, would be, why roll out a whole new system when you already have the information? You already have all this information and data about people. You have it as voters, you have it as those who have applied for passports, you have it for those who have applied for DL, you have this information from NHIF, from NSSF. Why did you have to now go to the State Department for Coordination of National Government to roll out a whole new program about registration of persons?
I think, one, it is not new. If you remember when... I think you are with me. When we were getting our IDs, it was not biometric. The fingerprints was a photograph.
Yes.
It wasn't actually taken electronically. So we need the electronic fingerprint. That's one. Two, you may be Eric Latiff here, but if we go to NHIF, you're Latiff Eric or something else, and if you go to other places, it's not easy that we can tell who you are across all these networks, across all these different institutions. So it is better we create Amsema Kweli, one central master database. Because today, maybe on your driving license, you have an extra name that is not in NHIF. And you'll find, some of the records even in NHIF, some young boys were giving birth because, again, of the corruption that exists. So can we not ensure we do it once and make sure the data we have is solid, is clean, and then everybody can use that? That is the reason.
I hear you, Bonas, yes. And in terms of communication, I think that's a vital component of all of this. We go back to the campaign, for example, when we were looking at changing of the currency.
Right.
And it was every living, breathing moment we heard, this is why we are doing this. This is what it's for. This is how important it is. Nobody can say they didn't know about it. And they almost knew at the very end that, all right, we're done. If I have shillings from the old course in my possession on this date, I'm not going to be able to use them, right? Do you think the communication could have been upped a little bit more? Because as you explain it here, it's beautiful. And you can say, okay, I see this. I can see it.
And it definitely isn't the way it was explained.
And this is not the way it was heard.
No.
The first thing that Kenyans heard, and you heard was...
Deadline.
No, you heard
you're going to take and be able to control Kenyans from some satellite up here and be able to figure out how you move with this Huduma number. But here you are saying something almost totally different.
It is...
in the way that Kenyans understood it, or the message that they heard was something totally different.
In fact,
but
let me just turn the blade. The Ministry of Information, which is in charge of communication, failed on this one.
I think that is not true. What happened is, like now for Central Bank, who was saying that the money is going to be evil, the money you're going to get, the new notes, who was giving, there wasn't this huge competing pushback. In the case of the Huduma number, the first thing people are saying is that government wants to use this for rigging. Government wants your DNA
to control
that they can control you. Government doesn't have... It became a sponsored communication. But if you remember, we even went out with all the different players. Even the handshake partner came. We launched this Huduma number with him. I was with him in Mombasa, in Likoni. The whole country, we really communicated. But what came out was the news that this thing is evil, this thing is what. And I can tell you it was sponsored.
Actually, Buenos Aires.
Yeah.
You see, you understand what was going on.
Right.
You clearly, even from your explanation, understand the import and the benefits of, say, the Huduma number. You do.
Yes.
And the activities you were involved in, from where you sit, was communication. What we're trying to tell you, it was inadequate.
I'm hearing.
Yes.
But I'm also telling you there was more communication than my communication or government's communication.
Yes, and we're also saying even that one was still inadequate. And the reason why we're saying it, we're saying there is a satisfaction that sometimes government has with the communication they have, because from their point of view, they've communicated adequately. And we're saying that usually isn't the threshold. What you understand and what the public ought to understand, and for them to understand what you understand, it doesn't just require effort as in stating it. No, it requires, you see, what you've just done today. I don't have a Huduma number because I felt somebody was ordering me to go and get it. I said, "Ati what?" No, I said, no, that one, let's wait and see. But If I'd heard what you're saying, I would have queued immediately.
But let me tell you, 37 million Kenyans did.
Yes, they did.
37 million Kenyans did. So that's not a failure, because it's more than 70-80% of the population. But we want 100%. We don't want any Kenyan left behind. So I take it. Yes, we could have communicated more. We could have communicated better. But I can tell you, the process we're going through, even going through the court process, I am very happy with that process, because it means we're going to make sure that nobody will come and use this data wrongly. We may want to really protect Kenyans with the data now, but what we know will happen 5 years, 10 years, we want laws that are going to really ensure our data is protected. You don't wake up one of these days, you find you've got loans that you are not aware of. Right, somebody used your biometric data, they got loans, and now
I'm being auctioned.
You're being auctioned, and you're saying, prove it. And they're telling you here.
Yeah.
Is
this not you?
That is why now the data protection is very critical. You don't want someone to come and change your title deed.
Yes.
And transfer it and so on. So those are the things that we want to make sure are protected. And I'm glad that internationally, Friday is the International Privacy Day. And we want to make sure we're celebrating that, because we have even a data commission.
Let's take a break. Okay. It's 8:30. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room, with Eric Latiff, Ndu Okoh, CT Muga, and our guest, the Cabinet Secretary for ICT, Innovation and Youth Affairs, the Honorable Joe Mushero. We are talking about the state of data management in the country. And that's why we're talking about the Huduma Number, the reason behind it, and the protection of all the data that's in government hands. Good morning.
This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
This nation has never healed genuinely from the 2000-2008 violence. We've never had a healing process. We've swept it under the rug.
Let me tell you, the handshake was the most disastrous political event in the history of country after the coup attempt of 1982.
There's no Kikuyu pothole, Luo lack of water, Okamba, lack of traffic. There is no Luya lack of drugs in the hospitals. Or Jaluo one. All our issues are the same issues.
If you are in a room and just about everybody in that room has a court case or another, what impression does that give you?
What are you saying? Why haven't you done it in the last 20 years? But they're telling us, like August, some miracle is going to happen. My friend, I want to tell Kenyans, you'll be in for a rude shock.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Sunny out in Nairobi today, highs of 26 and lows of 14. Sunny conditions as well. At 16 in Nakuru, we'll see highs of 28 and lows of 13. 10 will be the low in a mostly sunny Nyeri, highs of 26. And it's sunny at 16 in Eldoret, highs of 25 and lows of 11. Mombasa, mostly sunny at 26, highs of 32 today. And we'll see mostly sunny conditions in Malindi at 28, highs of 31 and lows of 26. At 19, Kisumu is sunny, highs of 32. 31 will be high in Kakamega, where it's sunny currently at 21. Going to lows. Sunny conditions out in Kampala, highs of 29 and lows of 16. Dar es Salaam, sunny as well, highs of 31 and lows of 27. Sun is out in Johannesburg at 17, highs of 27 and lows of 16. Lagos, still hazy at 26, highs of 34 and lows of 23. And cloudy in Kinshasa at 23. That'll be today's low, going to lows of 14.
Welcome to Spice FM, the best exclusive radio station bringing you the best mix of the best music ever.
And it continues in traffic hour this morning. We're looking at quite some of it on Mombasa Road today, but we're going to see that Uhuru Highway is taking its hit at every roundabout on Uhuru Highway. You're going to be stuck for some time. So if you can avoid Uhuru Highway, do that. How can you do that? If you're coming off Mombasa Road, use the Southern Bypass. That'll help you. And you can go the long way, go the back route. Enterprise Road coming out of the city, that's going out there behind Bunyala. So there's the option for you to use for that. Juja Road continues with that madness that we saw earlier, still a thing, and it's getting thicker and thicker on the Thika Superhighway. Hey, thicker and thicker on the Thika Superhighway. And we're also looking at Kiambu Road, which is quite a mess this morning, as well as Limuru Road. It continues this morning, also coming out of Westlands. In traffic hour, folks, take it easy. Let us know where you might be stuck. Any accidents or incidents, let us know. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
Spice FM, Nakuru. Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
It's 27 minutes to 9. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room on Spice FM. We are live on YouTube, Spice FM KE. We are live as well on Facebook, Spice FM KE. And we are live on KTN Home. Eric Latiff, Ndu Okoh, CT Muga, and our guest, the Cabinet Secretary for ICT, Innovation and Youth Affairs, the Honorable Joe Mucheru, CT.
You know, the sitting where I'm now sitting, and even when I'm not sitting in, I'm sitting elsewhere, what is becoming apparent is my understanding of how government ministries or government works and how it actually works is actually completely different. And from what I'm hearing, there are hurdles and issues that people who have the mandate to carry out certain duties, say as CSs, there are things that they confront on a daily basis that we don't get to hear and we don't get to know. All we see is they have failed, they have not succeeded, they're not doing well, and yet that may not necessarily be the case.
Sirikali.
The question then comes, is it in the government's interest to try and explain to the citizenry and get them to understand how exactly it functions?
It is. I think civic education, people understand. You know, first of all, even the terminology, government. As in, people say that's the government. And sometimes they refer to all manner of things, whether it's the executive, whether it's judiciary, whether it's, legislature. They just call all of us government, county, and so on. Even just that basic understanding, so that you know what are the responsibilities, who's supposed to do what, all that is important. And then, you're able to... So I think, yes, a lot of work needs to be done to educate citizens. And I think what you have seen, especially during this reign of His Excellency, the President, he has opened up a lot. He's allowed us to say, some of the things I'm saying here, without his sanction, I think I would be fired. Because, seriously, why would you say...
What are you saying?
There are these problems. You're supposed to be, as government, to say, mambo iko sawa. But the president has said, you tell citizens the truth. Be open, be transparent, so that they understand what these challenges are. Right. So I think over time, if we continue to have these conversations, if people continue to see the openness and interactions we're having, it will become easier and people will understand the government better. Openness on tenders, openness on legislation. The Constitution says you must have this public participation. All that is opening government a lot more.
Sure. And now we're looking at a time when we talk about challenges and responsibility in terms of them being open and transparent as government. Right. We're in an interesting period now because we're going into an election where a lot of data, a lot of information is central and critical to the process.
Right.
And so Kenyans also may not have an intimate knowledge and understanding of just how this ministry specifically plays a role in this control and management of this data as concerns the electoral process. How does this exactly work? And what would you want, how are we going to be able to...
Let's call it this protection versus control.
Okay.
Because the control of the data is with you, the individual. So you may give data, Huduma Number is optional. You chose not to have it, nothing has happened to you. It is optional.
The fact that I'm sitting very close to you and talking, that's evidence that nothing has happened.
So you have the option as a citizen to decide what it is that you want to do. So our role is to make sure, one, and through the Data Commissioner's Office, you know who has your data? Where is your data? What are they doing with your data? And if they have kept it for longer than they should, can they delete it? Can they remove it? So, for instance, a CRB may have your data saying that you've defaulted on a loan. But when you've paid, shouldn't they clear it and show that you're clean now? If they don't, then there's a place you can go to and they will actually be dealt with so that is resolved. There was earlier last year, people came out making a lot of noise. I'm in this political party, I've just found out and I'm not in that political party and so on.
Exactly.
The political party's registrar has, through eCitizen and through their portal, now you can go there and actually check what is the status, which party are you in, and if it is not your choice, you can ask to be removed.
In fact,
but the registrar will not remove you until they have first gone to the party. No, you'll do it on eCitizen, but it's the party that will be required to remove you. And if they don't within a certain period of time, then the registrar will take action and remove you. All these are areas where we've come in and created enhancement. In the previous years, how did you even know which party you are in? You just had this party had this number of people. You didn't know whether you're there, and you didn't even know whether you can actually go and complain or intervene. Now you can. Go clean the database. So right now, via eCitizen, any citizen can go and make sure that their data is correct. And they can even delete and say they don't want to be in any political party. All that is now open. So the control is with the citizen and not with the government. We're giving you the tools to ensure that your privacy, to ensure that you know who's using your data. You don't go into a building, the watchman asks you for your details, they put in the system. Before you are outside the building, you are receiving SMSs, buy this, do this. As in they've already sambaza your data to other people. You want to be able to know that when you leave that building, within 48 hours, your data is deleted because they don't need it, or whatever time the data commissioner is actually going to give.
The question, though, Manasias, is, as you're talking about protection of all these data, when you wake up one morning and you find a certain government website has been hacked, and then next week will be another one that has been hacked, and you're trying to access the eCitizen, and this time you are not able to. That's where the jitters come in. When it was hacked, did the hackers acquire my information? Is there a space between where the information is, where the servers are, and where the hackers can access?
You see, that is exactly the question we were being asked by all the people that were saying, why are you collecting our biometric data and putting it in a central place? And so the data commissioner's role and responsibility is to license and approve anybody that is controlling or handling data. They'll all come and they have obligations to be able to show, first of all, how are they storing the data? How are they communicating with you on what they're doing with your data? Are they taking this data overseas, or is that data only available here? All that regulation is what the Office of the Data Commissioner is actually going to be doing. And the regulations are already in place. You've got the general regulations that say how this data is collected, how it's managed, and so on. You've got the controllers and processors regulation also. And then the processes of licensing. So you've got these regulations that hopefully within February, they will come into force. And then within 6 months, everybody will be required to be compliant. So by around July, the compliance, because you have to give people time. They can't suddenly, wake up and lock up. But those regulations are going to be in place, and you will have someone you can go and report to and say, now I can't access eCitizen. And the eCitizen people will have to answer to her. They'll have to answer to the data commissioner as to why either they were hacked, how they're going to reveal what happened to the data, and so on. And that's why as government, we want to make sure we're prepared. Put the data in one central place and protect it.
Where are the servers?
They're in Kenya.
Controlled 100% by Kenya, not some tender that we have signed that expires in 3 years.
Government. They're in Kenya and by government. The president showed us. We went to Manyani. You saw the young people. We have some of the most talented.
Oh, yeah. There's something that the president once did when he went to
because people kept saying that it's Germans and all that. So he went to introduce the Germans in Manyani so that you can see. And he took people out there. You see the army of young people, tech people, who are innovative, coming up with amazing things. We can be able to secure our country and our data. We are not backward. We don't have to go out. So for things that are ours, we keep that data to us. Even the intellectual property, we're telling people, let us protect this and keep it to ourselves. So don't worry, there are no Germans or others, and I'm really not against Germans. I'm just saying that was what those people, naysayers, were saying, that are protecting our data. It is here in Kenya.
Yep.
We don't give you the exact location, but it is very secure and protected.
Hiyo ni serikali.
Hiyo ni serikali pia.
You talked about openness and transparency, and the president has been, championing this. Yes, I actually recall when the president said we need to have a system where all government tenders are visible to everybody.
Right.
Who wins the tender, who supplies, who completes, who gets paid. It's been very many months, Bona CS.
It was launched.
What was launched?
Tenders.go.ke.
Yes, where tenders are advertised.
So tenders tend to be advertised on the Treasury website or in the different websites. But you will go there and see what were the tenders, who was involved in bidding, who won, and even details of what was the committee that decided. So that is now being managed under the National Treasury. But that system and platform was launched. Unfortunately, what happened is at the time it was now being put into effect, there was that lifestyle audit, or everybody, the procurement people had been asked to step aside for audits and so on. So there was a delay in the process, and I need to check how far they have now gone into inputting the data. But actually the process and system was actually implemented.
We've discussed this before on the show, and I've actually even been on the tenders.go.ke looking to see, so this particular tenders, for example, CT and I have a company and we look. So looking for who has qualified and who has won tenders. We just see the numbers. And I think, in fact, John has actually put it on the screen. We can see the number of tenders, the number of contracts in per department, per ministry.
If you click on the tenders, it should give you more details. It's not just... there are the details.
There, okay.
And then you can click.
Supply and delivery. So, John, continue clicking because we're here.
So the data is there.
People just need to feel that,
and it's open.
What we're talking about is
I love this. I love that we can do all this on radio.
Yes.
Well done. Yeah.
This is what happens. So you are able to go to tenders.go.ke and you can open and get all the information.
Correct.
Including who is actual a supplier, who has won a tender, and the process of
and then
of winning
in the
those
back
tenders.
there, the people that actually gave that tender, the ones that approved, even that information is there. Obviously, because of protection, which is one of our
their information.
You can't put their names because then people will start looking for them and so on, which again we don't want. But the information is there, which means if you feel aggrieved that a tender has been awarded to somebody else and not you, and there were reasons, you have the information.
And you can see.
Before, it was all blank.
Opaque.
You could not get it. So the president has really pushed for this openness. And I think Kenyans one day will really see this is part of the biggest legacy. Not just the expressway and all this other infrastructure you see, but even in terms of access to information, in terms of empowerment of citizens, so that they can be able to really know what's happening. Who is this that was given a tender to build our road? And you see, this is cascading now even to the counties and so on. It's a start. And I expect that, within the next few years, this will become standard. You will be receiving a tender document showing the road near your place has been awarded to so-and-so. If you have a question,
and these are the timelines and these are the budgets.
Yes.
About access to information then, there are still very many people who complain about access to information. It's, in fact, there's even a case in court with the Okoh Mombasa campaign.
Right.
We've been saying we want to get the details of the SGR contracts, and we'd like to know what exactly the details of that contract are. But still, unable to get it.
So how do you answer? You know the government itself, just like yourself. There are contracts that you sign that say this is confidential, this is national security. There are all those levels. And even in the access to information law, there are all those requirements. So for instance, if, and this is hypothetical, I have not seen that contract, but if we were given a better deal than another country, and China doesn't want that country to know, and then we go and we publicize it everywhere, then nobody will ever give us any information, because then even us, we can't keep secrets as a country.
What did we do to get a better deal? Maybe that's the detail that we want to know.
So I'm not saying that that's the case.
We
I'm
know,
just
it's
saying
hypothetical.
that those could be the reasons why Kenya has agreed with China or whoever it is that some of these things should be kept secret. Now, I don't think this is an area or an issue that has been under my ministry that I'm required to explain.
Well, access to information, though, but
no,
principally, when it comes to information,
it was put under the commission of the CAJ. CAJ are the people who run
the ombudsman.
Yes, they're the ones who run that act.
Yeah.
It was removed from my ministry. People took it away from me. So they're the ones that are running it. My job is to go report on whether government has complied or not. And nothing else. I don't have budgets. I don't have the people. Nothing. Everything was given to CAJ. So I don't believe I'm the one who should really be answering.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, if you don't keep secrets...
On principle, yes.
That's why I answered.
And the reason I'm asking this is, even let's look at the Presidential Task Force on power bills.
Yes.
And the task force reported that there's some information that they were not able to get from Kenya Power.
Right.
Because they were told, these contracts we cannot give you. I mean, on principle, this is a presidential task force. It's doing public service, looking at how best we can ensure that there is affordable power in the country.
Right.
But it's not able to get contracts that have been entered into by a private company with some private companies. Does that serve public interest?
So you're right in what you're asking. But I think we must make sure we follow the law and we obey the law, because that is what will sustain our country. If you're a person who keeps on telling everybody all your secrets, you will find you will have no friends. You'll find no one wants to do business with you. You know what I mean? So again, we have to balance, and I think that's the current challenge we have. And some places we have to keep secrets. The president can go and collect that data. It's not, he has instruments to go and pick the data, but he obeys the law.
Sure, but unfortunately, the image that it casts then on government again is that there's something that
on government or Kenya Power.
Well, okay,
you see, this is that whole.
Look, the image that it casts is that there is something being hidden, and that there would be individuals wherever they are who are benefactors of this. And if that information is not being made to the public, the first thought is that there's something untoward happening. That perhaps the country could have paid less. That the country then probably would have been indebted at a lower rate. But that there is more that's being gotten, but that more is in the hands and pockets of a few. You speculate because there's a vacuum.
Speculations are real.
There's a vacuum, so you speculate.
And they're real and true. I think what you're saying probably has happened. And some of those things have happened. The beauty of the country and our constitution is that we can now go amend or change the law to make sure that the law provides for those things. So we don't break the law because we believe that this is what we must do. Let's protect our integrity. We want investors in Kenya. We want people to lend us money. We want all manner of things to happen as a country. But if we're seen to be a place where you cannot be trusted with information, you cannot be trusted to follow an agreement, a contract that you signed, then we might find ourselves even in worse positions. So I agree with you that we need to create that transparency, but let's make sure that no one signs contracts that have these kind of clauses. Let's change the law where we say that everything must be public.
There's a term I came across, Bona CS, blockchain.
Yes.
This reading has its benefits.
Right.
So now, when we talk about Huduma Number, I'm still on that Huduma Number.
Yes.
And some of, because of what it is.
Yes.
Can we apply blockchain to this idea and the reality of the Huduma Number?
The Huduma Number is on blockchain.
It is.
It was implemented on blockchain.
Okay.
And it is secure, it's immutable. Once you're born, you cannot delete whether that person was born in the country or not. It's fact and it's for life. You don't want places where people will be able to amend and change. So the way it is being done and the way we're calling it Huduma Number, the Msema Kweli, is because all records will be there. The fact that you're born will be recorded. If anything changes, you change your name, you change your marital status, you change your academic qualifications, whatever it is that you're changing, it is recorded and the history can be clearly seen. You can't suddenly wake up and you are given an ID and you have no history of even birth, which is what has been happening. I mean, people are issued with passports and they don't even have IDs because you've got all these different systems operating. You want that, we know that this car and this asset belong to you. And therefore, it's very easy to do an audit. If you've inherited land, it is clear where it came from, who had it. There are people who are now billionaires with no history as to how they got all these assets.
Yes.
Don't ask who, but I am sure you know. There's no history. This is the problem. Some of these people are fighting because they don't want that history to be recorded. Because you will ask, how did you jump from a position, this position you keep talking about, and suddenly you have all these.
It's agriculture. I mean, you're involved. Have interest in agriculture. I know CT. But I said, let's close the conversation on a note on the upcoming general election.
Yes.
You are involved in the committee that is looking at how to coordinate government, national government, and also county government. IEBC walked out. Maybe
actually, it's all the players.
All the players that are looking at preparation for the next general election.
Correct.
There's a lot of information that is needed in terms of awareness creation, and then in terms of also protecting data. What can you tell us about the working so far of the committee?
So the first thing is, the judiciary, the executive, the legislature, IEBC, everybody, we serve one citizenry. It's not that there is people that are just for the judiciary, then there's people for IEBC, it's all one. And because we want to make sure this is a smooth election and that there are no queries, we were coming together and we came together to say, what do you need? So Chebukati has been writing, or the IBC has been writing to us saying, please help us coordinate with the mobile operators because we need the network. We need, to be able to transmit results. They've been doing the same with Interior, saying they want security and police and so on. So there are a lot of things that are required where we coordinate. But we can sit down and say, these are the things we need. These are the polling stations where they will be. So we can map and say, here is the connectivity. Here is the security. We map and provide all that. But we don't tell IBC who to send there, how to do whatever it is. They are going to be independent in performing and, taking the election through their own normal process. We don't tell the judiciary how they are going to rule on any case. All that is independent. They don't tell me how we are going to provide connectivity, but we agree that the connectivity is here. I would say so far it has gone actually extremely well. Everybody has said this is what we require. The areas of duplication, as you know, we came from COVID. We want to make sure budgets are well organized, so there's no duplication in terms of requests and so on. That has gone well. And whether IBC has worked out or not, for us, we've made sure everybody has the information they need. We've provided what is required. Now they can come and tell us what they will need. Nobody is trying to tell them, rule this way or do... it's their mandate. It's in the Constitution.
So the door is still open for the IEBC.
And in February, the whole committee is supposed to now stand down and let everybody go and do their work. This was actually coordinated. Can you imagine you're holding an election for the whole country and there has been no planning or coordination amongst ourselves? Security doesn't know where the network is. So let's say the roads people come and they are cutting the fiber. And all this has to be coordinated and managed. And that's all we are trying to do. And I don't know, as I said before, there's these groups that try and create other stories because they have other agendas. And you've learned about government a bit today. So ni hao wanaleta hizo shida.
So yes, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
We want to say a very good morning to you. And as you head out there, we want to invite you again in coming days. Come and talk to us a little bit more on the innovation and youth affairs. There's very many questions that we have on youth affairs as well and as innovation.
I'll come. We talk about even NFTs and all the great
ones?
opportunities. There are some really nice things that will grow people also. Now we talk about policy and the things that we are doing. But how do we take advantage of the digital economy? Tutaongea hiyo.
Asante.
Asante.
And thank you very much for tuning in on KTN Home. You can switch over for the conversation on SpiceFM 94.4 Nairobi, Mombasa 87.9, Kisumu 102.5, 96.0 in Nakuru, and Eldoret is 96.7, 90.9 in Nyeri, and 97.7 in Malindi. SpiceFM KE on Facebook, SpiceFM KE on YouTube.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. 102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
I hope you don't believe that Hustler is a poor person. Hustler is a person who is making a living through hard work.
The group of leaders we are having now, Kenyans, listen, the chemical composition is the same. You will mold them to ODM, then NASA, you mold them to Kanu, mold them to Jubilee, mold them to any other different color sometimes. But the chemical composition is the same.
It's not about me as Nurdin Haji, but it's about the constitution that I swore to protect. So when individuals attempt to hoard those powers and they want to be investigators and also prosecutors, then of course I have to defend that position because that position is in the constitution and that's what Kenyans wanted.
I'll tell you what happens is that when you ignore court orders, you're creating and quoting anarchy. Then you create a very dangerous precedent.
A story is told of the first president of the country who also went to visit Madare, presidential tour. And of course, he went to this place and he introduced himself. So one of the investors says,
all right, it's coming up to 9 o'clock. Keep it right here for more conversations. In the next hour, we go back to the coast and we'll be having a conversation with the gubernatorial aspirant for Kilifi County, the Chief Administrative Secretary for the State Department of Devolution, Gideon Mungaro. Good morning.
The Spice FM Newswire is brought to you by InDriver. Choose your preferred driver, mode of transport, and negotiate your fare to your destination for a safe, comfortable, and affordable trip only with InDriver.
The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning, this is Newswire Dennis Seto. UDA, ANC and Ford Kenya leaders are today expected to lead the party's supporters in the first public rally since their merger Sunday. The Nakuru meeting is expected to signal a new political momentum in the country since the parties began collaborating. Ruto and Musalia Mudavadi's supporters, who are key players in the new partnership, have already stated their readiness to prove that Mudavadi's decision to leave Oka and start working with Ruto will indeed cause massive political ripples. Newswire and entire Standard Group media is following up on that story and will bring you the latest updates when they happen. And President Uhuru Kenyatta is scheduled to preside over a series of political rallies in Mount Kenya region as he is expected to field ODM leader Raila Odinga as his successor. Uhuru is expected to accompany Raila, where they will visit various development projects before the president addresses Mount Kenya MPs at the Sagana State Lodge. Although the date of the meeting has not been announced, it is expected to be held in the first week of February. Now, senators must submit amendments to the political party's amendment bill to the office of the clerk by 2:30 p.m. today. Senate Speaker Ken Lusaka says any amendment received after this time will not be accepted. The Speaker further urged the senators to exercise restraint, maintain decorum that is expected of a functioning legislature, and adhere to the standing orders during debate on the bill. The chairperson of the Standing Committee on Justice, Legal Affairs and Human Rights tabled the report of the committee to the bill yesterday ahead of the second reading. Upon conclusion of the second reading, the bill will stand committed to the Committee of the Whole House, where senators may submit amendments to the bill for consideration. Now, Garissa County Election Manager Hussein Guri is now appealing to the area leadership to assist the electoral body in mobilizing eligible voters to register before the deadline of the second enhanced registration that comes to a close in 2 weeks' time. Guri said that the political class played a vital role during the first phase enhanced continuous voter registration exercise that was conducted between October 4th and November 5th, 2021. Guri said that Garissa County came in second with 50% to Turkana that recorded over 63%. Malindi MP Aisha Juma failed to appear in court in the ongoing case where she is accused of the murder of a man in 2019. According to her lawyer Dunstan Omari, Juma is sick and could not travel to Mombasa. The Director of Public Prosecutions, however, labelled Juma's sickness claims as an excuse to derail the trial and deny the adjournment request. The DPP submitted that a warrant of arrest be issued against the MP instead. On her part, High Court Judge Ann Ogigo asked for signed and stamped documentation to prove that Juma was in fact unwell, which Juma's team produced. The judge granted the request for adjournment but further ordered that Juma produces a detailed medical report in court next month. The case will now be processed on February 1st. Kenya has largely stagnated in the fight against corruption. Transparency International Kenya says that according to the 2021 Corruption Perceptions Index, Kenya scored 30 out of 100, a slight drop from 31 in 2020. The organization noted that the change is not statistically significant even when a trend analysis of 10 years is performed. Transparency International stated that Kenya's performance indicates a general lack of progress in anti-corruption efforts despite the pledge by the government to address it. Now, Kisii elders have endorsed Okengo Nyambane to run for Kisii senatorial seat to succeed Professor Sam Ongeri, who is seeking the gubernatorial seat. During a delegates meeting at Igege Village, Kitutu Churches South, the elders vowed to rally behind Okengo for the senatorial seat. They noted that transition politics need economical justice, which needs someone who has the interest of the people at heart. And Kenya is fast emerging as an African hub for cancer diagnosis and management following the opening of the Integrated Molecular Imaging Center at the Kenyatta University Teaching, Referral and Research Hospital. The hospital has also commissioned a cancer hospitality center to cater to patients undergoing cancer chemotherapy treatment. According to the Ministry of Health data, 42,000 Kenyans are diagnosed with cancer each year, with 27,000 dying annually. And the traffic snarl-up at the Kenya-Uganda border has drastically reduced as officials race to clear the backlog ahead by today. More customs officials and equipment have been dispatched to the border post to assist in clearing cargo and persons crossing the border. Last week, Kenya and Uganda officials agreed on modalities to have a single COVID-19 certificate to ease the movement of goods and services across the two countries. With the deadline first approaching, the 80 kilometers backlog in the Malaba border has drastically reduced to 25 kilometers, with the Busia border that had stretched 30 kilometers reduced to 8 kilometers. East African Business Council is calling for a unified COVID-19 certificate in the East African community to ease the cost of business in the region. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
The SpiceFM Newswire is brought to you by InDriver. Download the InDriver app from the App Store or Google Play Store to enjoy a safe, comfortable, and affordable ride around Nairobi.
Traffic on Mombasa Road this morning still continues. Round Maradaima, that is a bit of a hiccup. The southern bypass looking pretty good. There's an option for you to use. Langata Road has been packed since morning. It still is the thing. Railo Odinga Way, then getting towards Ngong Road, which again is a thing all the way from the junction down towards Community. That continues for some time. Joko Road always packed in the mornings, and that's what we see till now. Thika Superhighway, still quite a lot of traffic, bumper to bumper in many parts. Coming off Muthaiga Square, then getting towards the Pangani underpass. That continues as well. Ring Road Westlands, that whole Westlands area, bumper to bumper in some parts. Not to forget, you can use the Red Hill Link Road to get off of Waiaki Way, which has been a mess for some time this morning. And Limuru Road still continues. We're still in traffic hour. Let's see what it looks like in about half hour or so. Let's talk. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation
It's
Room.
8 minutes past
the
9.
only way to
This
start
is
your
Kenya's
day.
biggest conversation. It's the Situation Room. We are still on the 26th of January 2022. We still have 6 days to the end of January. And we switch over the conversation now. Let's go back to the coast and the politics of the coast. Next up is a guest who wants to be the next governor of Kilifi County. But before we introduce him, let's hear the day's proverb from CT.
Mchimba kisima huingia mwenyewe.
Mchimba kisima
yeye
naingia mwenyewe.
Mwenyewe ndio hiyo.
In English,
he who digs a well enters it themselves or himself. Yes.
Okay. 97.7 Malindi is well tuned this morning. Keep it locked for the next guest. The Honorable Gideon Mungaro, he is the Chief Administrative Secretary in the State Department of Devolution. He is a former Member of Parliament for Malindi. He is a seasoned politician. He wants to be the next governor of Kilifi County. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
It's good to have you on the show, and we are glad that you're tuned in. I mean, you've joined us this morning. Welcome. We call that the hot seat, but let's just say it's a friendly seat for you.
Thank you.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
You've been a member of parliament. You've been an assistant minister. You're now chief administrative secretary. So you understand very much the issues of Kilifi County. There are many. Let's start by just looking at several issues. When you're currently talking about the drought that's ravaging parts of the country, Kilifi County is counted in that list.
Yes.
There are many people who today do not know what they're going to eat.
Yes.
What has the government been doing to address their plight?
The government has been doing relief food and also cash transfer. Relief food actually this particular time has been less because the government embarked on cash transfer directly to the people, and also Red Cross and other organizations. But currently, again, because there have been short trends, but Kilifi again was among the counties disadvantaged by the low rainfalls. Again, you saw yesterday the Minister for Public
Public
Works.
No,
not Public Works, the Public Service.
Public Service, rather, yes.
Professor Kobia flagged off the donations. So, again, food is going to the ground to help the people who are in their need. Yeah.
Is this a new problem, or is it that the people in this area face these problems regularly?
This is not a new problem. Actually, it has not been addressed. It seems like every year it's expected that when there's drought, then you'll have to give
to look at Kilifi.
So I think that's why I say in the future we will have to address this issue. And God willing, if I become the governor of Kilifi, when I become governor of Kilifi, then I will embark on irrigation. There are so many partners on food security. And I think when I was MP for Malindi, I did in a small way a project through CDF and World Vision in a place called Langobaya. And it's possible. It can be done. We can address the drought situation.
What's the economic mainstay of Kilifi, and especially those parts of Kilifi that have perennial drought problems?
The place where there's drought problem or the general economic...
especially for those areas. What is it that people do as an economic activity?
If you see like places like Ganze, not much. Some just do charcoal panning, and then in Magarini they're supposed to be doing many people there do pineapple farming, there's cassava farming, but it has not been enhanced.
But what could they do? Like, I mean, Ganze, the problems in Ganze have been there for as long as history.
Yeah.
Now, what could they do that would have some economic benefit to them?
I think what you need to do in Ganze is just doing as many water pans as possible, and also some big dams. Few big dams and many water pans will change the situation there.
Why hasn't this been done before?
now,
I mean,
because, yeah.
we have the Tana Acid Development, it's called Tana Acid Development Authority that's been there. We've had the national government, we've now had 9 years of county government. Why haven't these things been done?
It's the priorities, basically. Those who are in office, depends what priority they have put. Because if you go to Ganze, is again, the water problem is a huge issue. I could say in Kilifi, in 4 areas is the major problem. Okay, there are some problems in other areas, but I think if you... Maganze, Kaloleni, Rabai, and Magarini. There are some places where when you go, you will shed tears with the situation of water situation in those areas. And there are things which can be addressed. Don't forget that the water comes from a place called Langobaya in Malindi, and it's piped all the way 120 kilometers to Mombasa and many parts to Malindi and other places. But still the people of the Kilifi County don't assess it.
So what would be different? Because you talk about in the future, but unfortunately, this is a bad situation now. Yeah. Presently, it's a bad situation. Historically, it's been a bad situation. Yes. Many would argue that it has gotten worse, yes. Right? So if we're looking at the future, what necessarily would change? Because a different individual then is in a position of leadership. What would change and how would it change?
I think it depends on individuals' efforts and looking into how to solve the problems. And why I say it's possible to address it is because when I was MP for Malindi, I addressed water problem. It was a problem in Malindi. When I became the MP for Kilifi North, I addressed the water problem. That's why in those 2 constituencies, I can challenge any citizen of that area to tell me now the situation of those 2 constituencies where I was a member of parliament and any other constituency in Kilifi County, and they will tell you the difference. It's an individual effort on wanting to have a change. When you are elected in leadership, you need to bring change. It's not about you just being there and finish your term without addressing the issues affecting the people.
We're talking about issues. Huh? What would you say are the main problems that people in Kilifi County face, and what are the changes that they would like to see come about?
There are several issues I feel need to be addressed in Kilifi County. The one problem is the one we're discussing now, the water scarcity. So meaning, if we address water, we will address also food security, because we encourage people to do irrigation. Health, yeah. We need to improve health facilities in Kilifi. You will see today still people being rushed to Coast General Hospital from now and then. I think this particular time of devolution, there is need of every effort to do a referral, teaching and research hospital in Kilifi. You all know that even when COVID started, that the only center you could do testing was Kimberley in Kilifi. So I think we have all the advantage of doing a research, referral and teaching hospital in Kilifi. And it will benefit the Kilifi people.
Health is key.
Yeah.
How many, I was going to say wards, but let me not go to the wards. If you look at Kilifi, and you were to ask, how many hospitals does Kilifi have? I don't want you to give me a number. I'm beginning my conversation. The number of hospitals and what levels are these hospitals at? And then if you go lower down, how distributed are them to the whole of the county? And in the time that Governor Kingi has been governor, how many new health facilities have been put up, and are they adequate?
I wouldn't be able to say much, but I know that there's the Malindi Hospital. Why I have more Malindi? Because I was member of parliament there and I was involved in developing Malindi Hospital through partners. When I was first mayor of Malindi and then MP for Malindi, I did a lot of programs with Danida. We built wards in Malindi Hospital. Malindi Hospital was a dilapidated hospital, but by the time I left as MP, we had built even an HDU in Malindi Hospital those days. And I think the county came in and started building up from there. I know that they have done Mariakani Hospital. Then, of course, improved a bit some of the sub-county hospitals like Bamba. It's not a big place, but I think there are 15 beds or something. They have done Rabai, I think maternity wing. I really don't know the rest. I know that they have done many dispensaries, but they're either not open, and if they're open, they have no drugs. But I did myself, again, when I was MP for Kilifi North, I did the Gede dispensary, tried to expand it to a smaller, medium hospital. Not much was done since I left office. The only thing I think it became handy during the COVID. They opened it as a COVID isolation area. And I was helped to do this by the Kenya Ports Authority. I approached the Kenya Ports Authority through the CSR, and they built for me 45 beds facility in Gede. And with CDF, we bought beds, we did all the other facilities. And again, through partners with from Italy called Caribuni on Loose, we did the maternity wing for that place. But again, after some time, it was abandoned. It became a normal dispensary, while it has all those facilities it was used to.
Let me ask the question. You see, why I'm asking you this question is because we had the Chief Officer of Health for the Nairobi Metropolitan Services here a while back, sitting on that very same chair. And there's something he told us that has stuck in our minds. They put up 21 health facilities at the cost of 36 million Kenya shillings? So it begs the question, and you go to basics, how much money does Kilifi County get?
Kilifi County gets about 11 billion.
How much?
11 billion.
11 billion.
From the national government.
That is the national.
And of course they get some partners to do other.
Okay. And the population of Kilifi is something like 1.4 million? 1.5 million? Okay. Now, would you say that in the time, in these last 9 years, because if it's 11 billion and I multiply it by 9, that is 99 billion. Would you say there is an indication of...
That is without including what is collected locally.
Own source revenue.
Yeah. No, I'm just going by what...
The national government says.
Yes, what the national government has given.
Actually, it's about 11 because it's 10 billion, 400 and something.
Yes, because if health is an issue, clearly from what you're saying, it hasn't been addressed. If you're saying water is an issue, clearly it hasn't been addressed. So the question that I'm actually asking is, where has this 11 billion shillings been going? And what is it that you plan to do with this 11 billion that will be different from what this particular county government has done?
I want to address water issues. I want to address health. I want to address education. I know the county has been doing bursaries because that's what they do on the ECDs. But when it comes to bursaries, I have a different formula. Every time you hear the county has spent 500 million on sending kids to school, But there's no record you can say at the end of the year that the county has educated 50 or 100 kids. What I did when I was MP for Malindi is that apart from giving bursary to many people, I targeted 100 per year to make sure that they're fully paid. And they must bring their reports when they come at the end of the term for them to be able to get another check to go back to school so that we see how they're progressing. If you don't do that, you will be spending billions and billions of shillings distributing 10,000 here, 5,000 there, but you will have no results because you cannot be able to account and say in the 10 years as a county government, we have been able to take 500 kids from Form 1 to university level. There must be a formula and it's not a rocket science to do it.
Other challenges when it comes to education in Kilifi, to do with the numbers of enrollment into primary school, transition into secondary school, and the high dropout rate, and then also the performance. What do you intend to do about that? To encourage the children to first of all be enrolled by their parents into school and to stay in school until fourth form.
There are different factors which brings this. Of course, the poverty levels. You have talked at the beginning about drought, which has made many kids go off from school during. That's when it starts mostly. But also, we need to improve our facilities. Yeah, I know this is not a job of the county government or building of schools, but I think the county can partner with the local members of parliament who have the CDF to see how jointly they can come up with a formula of fast improving facilities and come up with working with provincial administration to monitor how these kids can stay in school. We have seen that the government with the 100% transition have been able to go around the country and mop up kids to go to school. And I think in partnership with the provincial administration and the county government, we'll be able to see how many kids are in school. The other problem is what I was telling you is that, yes, kids have done their class 8 exams. Those who have performed well, those who have not performed well, but there's 100% transition. Who checks to make sure that all the kids, even the kids who have got an alliance. Last year, I remember, I was approached and I was, through friends, I managed to take 15 kids to high school, sponsored. One of them was going to Alliance. Nobody knew that there's a kid who had
passed so well,
going to Alliance and was sitting at home. So we must be able to have, between the county government, provincial administration, the TSC, director in charge of Kilifi County, work in collaboration to be able to monitor how many kids have done exams within the county, how many have, and the county has all the ward administrators. It can't be so difficult. What other major job are they doing at the ward level? Because you have an assistant chief at that place, you have the chief. So the ward administrator could work hand in hand with the teachers or the union officials of those areas, with the TSC, to be able to establish in this ward how many kids did their Standard 8 exam, how many kids have done secondary school exams, how many are really in school,
and how many are not. Is there any indicator in terms of data and information onto the causes that lead to these very high dropout rates in Kilifi County?
The problem has not been mostly with the boy child, has been with the girl child, the early pregnancies. But I think the Ministry of Education and the government have really tried. The last 1 year, that has been going down.
The numbers have been
dropping. But this was the main issue. But again, it's not only poverty. You know, in the old days, when we were growing up, parents wanted to know if not only the girl child, but even the boy child. My father wanted to know whether I was at 6 o'clock in the evening because I'm still in school. Why am I not at home? But nowadays, parents just let their kids go. A girl will not turn up back home in the evening, and a parent will not be surprised or wonder. A girl will go for 2 days and come 2 days later, and it's normal nowadays. Parents have relaxed. They have dropped the
that
guard.
isn't even relaxed. That's neglect.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. So
Why?
parents
Why
also,
would that- why
parents
is that
also need to
happening?
take responsibilities, because not only government will. You should be your business to know where your child is. It can't be that your kids will leave on Friday after school and come back on Sunday. Kids, girls
There's
of
no
13 years.
You know one thing, Washimiwa, is it doesn't matter the circumstances. The one thing that everybody who is a parent knows is that they have a duty and a responsibility over their children.
Yes.
So really, I don't see how the parents of Kilifi County would be different from the parents of any other part of this country. In terms of, just sitting back and saying, well, I gave birth to a child, okay. It can't be.
It has also come to the notice of government officials and leaders that also some parents are involved of even sending their kids to
child labor and
exactly child labor and many other issues I wouldn't be able to share on this platform. But it happens. Many parents are.
There's something that I have to ask here. One of the things that was rampant in Kilifi County for a long time was early marriage for girls.
Yes.
Has that come to an end, or is the situation still exactly where it was before?
It's still there, but it's not in big way like it was before. What is happening now, it has changed to early pregnancies, where kids get pregnant, they deliver at home, then they're not married at all. Yeah. Before was early marriages because parents are involved on marrying their daughters off. But now, people have come up claiming that many young girls were involved with the border guys. But you must appreciate, if you guys are watching the TV, I think it was NTV last week, was showing how border riders have come together to rescue the girl child in Kilifi, to make sure those girls who fell in the hands of their colleagues are going back to school. It's a program which has been started by the borders of Kilifi County, which I think is a very good effort. I think this one will lead to reduction on the early pregnancies. Yeah.
Let's talk about the other challenges and what your vision is for Kilifi County after this break. It's 9:30. This is Kenya's biggest conversation. 97.7 Malindi. We have your former MP and a man who wants to be your next governor of Kilifi County in the studio, the Honorable Gideon Ngaro. He is currently the Chief Administrative Secretary, let's just say, Assistant Minister in the State Department for Devolution. Keep it right here. This is the Situation Room on SpiceFM.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. Spice FM, Malindi.
If I'm found guilty, there is no problem. I'm willing to serve. I have no problem. Jails are meant for human beings.
They say a society gets the leadership it deserves. If you have a corrupt, crooked and rotten society like we have in Kenya, then of course they will get that kind of a leadership.
I think the president should dissolve parliament. That's the best solution at this moment in time. Dissolve parliament.
All of you go home.
Yes, we all go home.
How are we encouraging other people who might have new and creative ideas? Young people who are making money without any government help. They are just buying their own bundles. They are going on TikTok and making money. KRA is coming after them.
I've been in parliament for 15 years. We have been unable to pass the gender law. And yet no presidential candidate is talking about it now. Because we are fake. The truth is, all the men refused to vote for that law.
What did Sonko do to Pumwani maternity hospital?
Yeah, he
with his
cleaned it up.
own money.
Cleaned it with his own money. That was him as an individual.
Yeah. And I did not say he was cleaning his own money. I was saying he cleaned
Foot, mouth. Foot, mouth. Eric.
Okay.
Sunny conditions in Nairobi at 20. We'll see highs of 26 and lows of 15 today. 18 degrees, and it's sunny in Nakuru. Highs of 28 and lows of 13. 26 will be the high in Nyeri, where it's sunny at 17 down to lows of 10. And sunny conditions in Eldoret. Highs of 25 and lows of 11. Mombasa, it's raining now in some parts at 27. Light rain, however. Highs of 32 and lows of 25. While in Malindi, it's mostly cloudy at 28. We'll see highs of 31 and lows of 26. Kisumu is sunny at 24. Highs of 32 and lows of 19, while in Kakamega sunny at 26, highs of 32 and lows of 15. It's sunny in Kampala at 24, we'll see highs of 29, while it's now sunny in Dar es Salaam, highs of 31 and lows of 27. 18 degrees and sunny in Johannesburg, highs of 27 and lows of 16, while in Lagos, the haze continues over the city. 24, highs of 34 and lows of 23. Kinshasa is partly sunny at 23, highs of 30 and lows of 23. Let's look out into Beijing, where it's slightly warmer now at 1 degree and sunny. 2 degrees will be the high and lows of -6. 0 degrees. Paris is cloudy this morning, just at freezing, and we'll only see highs of 3 today. Cloudy conditions at 4 in London, highs of 7 and lows of 4, and it's -2. Inching closer to Wednesday, it's clear, highs of -2 and lows of -8 in New York.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM.
All right, getting out to the end of traffic hour now, but still on Uhuru Highway, some action there, and Gong Road still continues to be heavy. Langata Road still a thing, seeping off onto Railo Odinga Way this morning, and it still continues off Jogo Road. Thika Superhighway letting up finally, and now just at that Pangani underpass coming off Kiambu Road. Getting into the CBD now is a lot easier. Looks a lot better on Limuru Road, actually. Outer Ring looking good. So I think out of traffic are at a good time this Wednesday. Just keep an eye on things through the day on SpiceFMKE on Twitter. Text 40127.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. Spice FM.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
It continues with Eric Latiff, CT Muga Ndu Okoh, and our guest, the Honorable Gideon Ngaro, Chief Administrative Secretary for Devolution, wants to be the next governor of Kilifi County. Mheshimiwa, you've told us about the very many things that are pain points for the people of Kilifi. You've talked about health, you've talked about water, agriculture. Of course, blue economy is something that a county government would be able to also deal with. Now, what exactly do you hope to do for, let's say, for instance, in terms of agriculture, to improve agriculture, to make it the economic mainstay of very many people in Kilifi County? Remember, part of the Galana Kulalu 1 million acre project is in Kilifi.
Yep. I think that's why I'm saying it's possible to address the food security in Kilifi, because at the moment when you do relief food, and we did the other day before the special programs was transferred from devolution to public service, is that the maize we are getting to supply or distribute to the people comes from Kilifi County, from Galana Kulalu. So it's possible for the county. So
maize is coming from Kilifi to be distributed to people who are starving in Kilifi.
Yeah. And we cannot feed our own people. So I think we need to address that. And to address that, what I want to say is we are still studying the budget, how much, because we don't know also how much when we come in, how much things we'll need to sort out. But we are saying if we did every financial year in an investment of 1 billion shilling on agriculture. We invest 1 billion on water, and we address 1 billion for a start.
Yeah,
and we can improve that. Then I think the change will be normal. If you do 1 billion water, we have the perennial areas. I've said Magarini, Ganze, Kaloleni, and Rabai. Yeah. If you did 250 million every constituency per financial year, in 4 years you will have done 2 billion in every sub-county. I don't think you will have a water problem anymore in those areas.
So what would you be spending the money on?
On piping water. And the other areas where you probably have, you could do some water, medium water dams, which will help both to provide water and irrigation. But do piping of water, because we have water from the Sabaki, the Galana, the Baricho waterworks, which is in Malindi, in Kilifi sub-county. So to do both piping and dams.
And you supply that.
And you supply that. And they create, and I think the other problem we have had in Kilifi is on the water supply. Every time we hear there's a water shortage, maybe for a week or polar sharing, is because power has been disconnected. We would like to invest on solar panels at the waterworks. And I can tell you, we can do a BOT with investors. Build, operate, and transfer. And pipe the water so that we can reduce also the expense to the consumer.
Yeah. What do you think?
Because at the moment also the water is expensive because of the electricity. Electricity is high.
Yep.
So the
cost of pumping.
Pumping is high. And who pays it?
The consumer.
The consumer who pays.
Yeah. So we need to find a way on sorting out that issue. When you come to health, I think if you ask me, in the time I've been in leadership, if there's one area where you have no issues with partners, is health. If you, as a county, make an effort, you don't need a lot of effort. If you come with a program like today, what I'm saying of the research, referral, and teaching hospital, believe me, out there are so many people who can invest and partner with the county to do health. Water, the same. Actually, water, I know when I was MP, and before that when I was a mayor for Malindi, I went for a workshop in Berlin. It was called Vasa Berlin. And I presented a paper then, done by my engineer those days. And they managed to come out of that conference with 300 million donation for water reticulation in Malindi. That changed Malindi. Even Malindi Hospital did not have water. When I became the MP for Malindi, the biggest business of Malindi was water boozers. Places like Asorina where people go and enjoy nowadays, holidays, and they had no water. The biggest business of Malindi, you could just see everybody was investing on water boozers. I managed to change that. So that's why I'm saying, that's how we got HP Gaff from Germany, came to Malindi, did the water reticulation, had a contract for 5 years to be able to do the running of water, Malindi Water Company. From when the people used to read maybe 100 meters out of the consumers of Malindi. Now that every meter is read, more money is collected, and that money is plowed back to expand the water circulation. That's what happened when I was MP.
You know why I mentioned the issue of Nairobi Metropolitan is because of what they did with the health sector. Now, the hospitals they built, were turnkey projects, meaning they don't just put up the brick and mortar. No. It is built, it has equipment, so all you do is to start.
Yes.
And remember, 21 health facilities with less than $1 billion. Now, If one focuses on changing the health sector and looking at the needs that the population has, even if you wanted to spend half that amount, and you're saying this is the amount we are focusing for the health sector on a yearly basis, just to put up the structures, I think by the time you even get to your third year,
it will be changed.
Almost every corner of Malindi County will have a health facility. So you cannot say that you have a problem with health facilities.
Of Kilifi County. And that's what I've said. And I know many people, you have also doubting Thomases. But I said the other day when I was in Kilifi that what the county government of Kilifi could not do in 10 years, I'm intending to do it in 3 years because it's possible.
Okay. And even as you say this, Bonamonga, it is... I think we've listened to so many people, so many aspiring leaders coming into this election talk about things that they have not seen working, and that if given the opportunity, they will make sure that those things work, right? And so the question is here, how will people be sure? What guarantees do they have that whatever needs to be applied will actually be done and it will work? Because they've lived in this position for the longest time where things have actually not happened. This lack of hospitals is not a yesterday thing. This lack of water is a decade-long thing. This, you said it yourself, this thing of a drought in the region is a recurrent thing year after year after year. So what makes this particular time different? And I think that's the question, because everybody seems to have a development agenda. Let's make things better than they were before. Let's get out of this suffering situation in which we have been in. How do they know that this is the time that it will actually change?
I think mine, I want to say very simple, that I've been there, I've been tested. When I became the mayor of Malindi, I was voted the best mayor in Kenya and among the 3 mayors in Africa. Yeah, and among the 30 mayors of the world who are assembled in Israel to be awarded the best performing. So I'm not coming here just to say things which I have not tested and done them. I've told you I've sorted out the Malindi water problem when I was a mayor. And don't forget, I was only ceremonial that time. I didn't have executive powers. But I went my way out to look for partners, to look for friends, to come and help change Malindi. And we managed to do it. And when I became the MP for Malindi, I did more. Through Danida, you check the priorities of your people. Through Danida, when Danida came into Malindi those days, they wanted to improve the all-weather, to make the roads into the farms all-weather. And I told the directors, come on, yes, you will improve the roads into the farms, into the villages, to come into Malindi. But one thing I can tell you, even if you bring a patient from that village because you have improved the roads, they will arrive at the hospital and they will die. So for me, let them take 2 hours to get out of those villages to reach here. But when they reach here at the hospital, they should be able to be treated. Yeah, they should be able to get a facility where they will be attended to and save their lives. And that's why Danida built all the wards you see in Malindi. If you go to Malindi and see all the women wards, the male wards, the children's wards, were built during my time. Yeah, the morgue, the HDU. That time also I was a member of the Rotary Club, and I managed to, through my contacts at the Rotary Club, to convince Rankin City in UK to bring equipment for dental clinic in Malindi Hospital. And they gave Malindi Hospital worth equipment of 40 million to start a dental clinic those days, 2001. I managed to partner with Karibuni Onlus and from Italy, and we managed to do HDU at Malindi Hospital as a member of parliament. Those were all, as you are aware, that they were not functions of a member of parliament because, and there was also no devolved unit by then, because that was 2007, 2013. Yeah. Yep. But it's an individual effort to look for partners, to look for organizations. And believe me, if you went to your Google now and look where you can get partners for water, health, whatever, believe me, you will get many people. And it's all a matter of approaching people and explaining yourself, be able to tell the partners the plight of your people, and it will happen. It's not a miracle. When I did the dispensary to get 45 beds, I just walked into Kenya Ports Authority. Where's Kenya Ports Authority? It's in Coast. I wrote a letter to the MD and I said, look, could I get out of the CSR budget, do for me ABCD? Why did I want to improve that particular hospital? It's in the locality of my home area. But because the black spot of the main accidents on that Malindi Kilifi stretch happens within Gede Forest, which is the most accidents happen that stretch up to near Malindi Airport. But that's the most concentrated area, is about 10 kilometers, which is within there. And I said, if we improve this facility, then we could be able to stabilize people here before you take them to either Malindi General Hospital or to Kilifi Hospital. But since we got the county into office, apart from the other day because they needed it for, needed a place for isolation, it was just left like that since I left office.
You know what is interesting? You talk about something that we haven't heard very many people who are in the political sphere talking about, how to get partners to work with you and how to make changes. But you see, there's one fundamental difference when one is governor. You have 11 billion
right there,
your own to work with.
Plus own source revenue.
Yes.
Pushes it to, let's say, 15 billion.
And partners. Yes. Believe me, I've told people and I can tell you, I know she has said everybody comes and promises this, but I can tell you on health and water, I can promise the Kilifi people, if I spend 50-60% from our own resources, I will be able to mobilize 40% from partners. The money is out there. People need to get out.
So essentially what you are saying, if I hear you correctly, is that the facilities and the resources to bring about change have been there.
Yes.
But for some reason or the other, they haven't been used to bring about change.
You know, leadership is not about how much money you have. It's about the will and the inner you. That I come from Kilifi County, and I want to make change. And that's how I've worked. When I was mayor, that's why I got all the awards. When I was MP, when I got the water program for Kilifi North now, Kilifi North, when they removed my village, which is Watamu area in Dabaso, to the new constituency, and I had to move out of Malindi to contest there. One of the challenges I knew I was going to face was water. Because as a young boy, every morning when we woke up early, before Christmas and to go with your father to buy the new clothes in Mombasa, we could go with a bus at 4 a.m, called Malindi bus. And there's a place called Mida in Gede, that Gede Forest. And you could see the jerrycans, that's the memory I have, of women at 4 o'clock in the morning. Lining up to look for water. Yeah. And when I became the MP for Kilifi North, apart from many things I asked the government, I asked personally the president, and I said, if there's one thing I want to leave for Kilifi North people, is a 67-kilometer stretch water pipe where the water now can. And that's what the county is using at the moment to spread water in that Kilifi North. I got a water pipe from the Kakuyuni reservoirs, which is near the Baricho Water Works, 67 kilometers into Kilifi Hospital, and built 6 million water tanks by the national government. That was done within my 5 years as Member of Parliament, because I made it my agenda that apart from what I'm doing with CDF, this is what I want from the national government to do for me.
The bulk of what we've spoken about has been development issues. Now, I'm looking at this vis-a-vis the greater coast conversation, which a lot of times has been inclusivity into the national conversation. From your point of view, in terms of what you want to do, I mean, clearly, when we talk about Kilifi North, we talk about Malindi serving as an MP, a lot of these things that you took on were development projects. Now, looking at what the conversation has been politically coming out from the coast, do you think that the issue should be, let's sort out these development issues that have plagued these areas for the longest time, or should the concentration be invite us to the national table so that we can all be part in terms of leadership? Which do you think is more important, and where should the focus be?
I think more important is engaging the national government. I think being on the national table, whether to decide from there or whatever is not the issue. The issue, I think, is the leadership of the region to come up together and see what first do you want to solve. Are you aware? Do you know what you want to solve as a region first? Then we go to the national conversation on how, because we have now devolved units. Devolved units, whether you are at the table of the national table or not, you will get your money.
Sure.
There's no county. Coastal is has been an ODM zone. There's no governor who was refused money by the Jubilee government because they're in ODM. So it can't be an excuse. I think all what we need to do is, first of all, to have our priorities right with the money we get as devolved unit. Then we see the remaining areas where probably the money is not enough from the devolved unit, how you will partner with the national government and other partners to be able to solve the problems. I think for me, if you ask me, that's the main issue. The issue is not Oka or Azimio or UDA. The issue is, do we know our issues? Do we have a plan to solve our problems? Yeah, as individual, when elected to office by the people.
Does it help, though, to have a broader plan? For example, at 7 o'clock, we hosted Hassan Omar, who wants to be governor of neighboring Mombasa.
Yeah.
And he's also very deep in the UDA campaign. And he was telling us that UDA has, all these blueprints and what if they win the government, what they hope to do to develop the coast. Now, is there such a plan or blueprint or conversation happening? I know you're in the Azimio camp. Is there such a conversation?
What I can tell you, my sister said here, the name Ndu, that what people talk and what they do is different. In the cost, believe me, we don't need to do new blueprints. If you go to the shelves of this country, I think you just need to dust them. Maybe they were manual before and put them in the computer and you move on. But all these blueprints people are talking about, now I know it's the election period. Every leader, especially when they come to coast, they will talk about land. Yeah, they will talk about how we have been marginalized, I don't know for how many years.
Blue economy.
But believe me, the problems of the coast is just about who is going to be the local leader and who are they going to partner with, who have equally interest of changing the area. But the more efforts will come to the local leadership, to make sure that you are able to change these issues by constantly reminding the powers to be that these are the issues and this is why I was elected and there must be a change.
So what you're telling the people of Kilifi, for example, is it matters, but what matters most is the character of the individuals coming to you, wanting to be your MP, wanting to be your governor. Their national affiliation, whether they're in Oka, UDA, Azimio, comes secondary.
Yes, because for me, I will choose the affiliation up here. That when I was in ODM, at one point I chose to move to work with the sitting president, President Uhuru, because also I realized that I could engage him on the issues of my people. And out of the people who are now on, I believe the person who has been passionate on the issues of course is Raila Odinga. And I believe if he makes it this time, and I'm the governor of Kilifi, we would be able to change not only Kilifi, but the issues also of the region. Because this land issue, everybody talks about it. They talk about it during campaign. I was in the land ministry till recently when I was transferred to devolution. And I can account for what I was able to do. The titles we have done for Kilifi, many of them not distributed now because the president came and launched and said he'll come again. But we did not only be able to do the education and settlement schemes, but we also bought land. Today, I am leaving government office on the 9th. Proudly, I can say that I managed to convince the government to buy the land which has been an issue for the longest time in Kilifi County, the Mazurui family land. The government now has bought Mazurui and is allocating people of Kilifi. That's the biggest land owned by private people in Kilifi County. The Mikanjuni land in Mutwapa, which belonged to also individuals. The government has also bought that one. And I had just started pursuing the land called Kaga, about 4,000 acres in Kilifi town also, which the government has already engaged the Kaga cooperative to also buy it and allocate it to the people. These are the issues we want to see. It's not always just standing on podiums and just talking and promising, but you don't move an inch. So I can tell you that the only change you will do to our people is when you come to office, you should be able to leave office with your head high, saying, when I was in office, I was able to achieve A, B, C, D.
Which may have to ask you this question, even as time is winding down. Almost every region in this country has a political party they affiliate themselves with. Why is it that the coast has not been able to garner their own people to form a political party that the coastals rally behind?
I think we have had parties at the coast. We had Shirikisho, which is still there. Yes. We had Kadwasili still there.
Yes.
Governor Kingi now has come with PA. And there's conversations around all these parties.
Mheshimiwa, there are always conversations, but something that brings
that becomes a formidable
that makes
force.
It a block.
And you know why? When it will become a block, you always have to be able to convince the people of what she was asking, that I will do the difference. Till you can show the people that you do the difference, because you see now these parties are formed and they have already individuals on them. So they look at you, Gideon Mungaro, what have you been able to do for us so that we can rally behind you?
Yeah.
So whatever we do, we must know that it will haunt us in future. Whatever you do now, will you be able to use it to rally people behind, or people will run away because they think like, what have you done for us?
They see that you really wasted the opportunity that they've given you before.
Which is a very good idea. But like now you see the conversation is very high at the cost. Probably we needed more time to be able to rally people behind.
Okay.
Maybe now you would be able to rally people, but not everybody, because people think like time is running out.
Mheshimiwa Gideon Mungaro, thank you very much for joining us today. Come again soon after you officially and formally quit government and now go campaigning. Come, let's talk about the politics of Kilifi County.
Thank you.
And thank you very much for tuning into the Situation Room today as we wind up. CT, today's proverb was... Chimba kisima
huingia mwenyewe.
Mchimba kisima huingia mwenyewe.
Yes.
Asante. See you again tomorrow morning. Have a lovely day. It's 10 a.m.
Asante.
Spice up your life